Perfect.
Well. We have arrived back in our homes. We are no longer in our LA studios. We are back to our regular setup. We love being out in LA. We love having you guys and girls along for the ride. We, of course, are Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. I am Rick Kamla. To my left, that is Dr. X, Dr. Phil McDonald, sports medicine radiologist and founder and creator of this show. To my right, it is Dwight Walton, Canadian basketball legend. And to the far right, it is A.M. Pfeffer. All of us will give you all of our takes on the world of basketball in just a little bit. But guys, we have a couple of very special guests on the show today. We have Vinnie Del Negro coming up at 3:30, former player, coach, and executive. And we have our buddy Law Murray, longtime Clippers reporter, to do some all-star reminiscing. And he's coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So let's dive in. And I just, Dwight already knows how we roll. But I just said we got some spicy debates planned for Dwight Walton here and the whole crew, all right? Is Franz Wagner overrated? Franz Wagner will be sidelined. You're probably eye-rolling right now. That's fine. He's going to be sidelined indefinitely after recent tests showed that he requires additional time in rehab, eye roll, for soreness in his left high ankle sprain. He'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. He's missed 25 of the Magic's past 29 games, sustained the injury on December 7th against Doc's New York Knicks. The trio of Wagner, Banchero, and Suggs have played 14% of the games together. They never play together. So I'm going to get this started because I may be the only guy saying this. And then you guys can take your shots, grab your bat. I'm the pinata and whack away. Yes, Franz Wagner is overrated. Not by the basketball world, but by you guys, okay? We have debated Paolo versus Franz. Most of you took Franz. I think that's the wrong answer. We have debated Austin Reeves versus Franz Wagner. Most of you took Franz. I completely disagree with that. Franz is a 32% career three-point shooter. 32. No rim protection at all. This guy's 0.3 blocks a game for his career at 6'10". He missed 22 games last year. He's only played 28 games this year. Look, Franz Wagner is a solid player, a really good number three. He could play for my team. He's like a better version of Tobias Harris, circa the Philly days when he was just a pretty good third kind of guy, but not an all-star level player. To pick Franz over Paolo, to pick Franz over Reeves, to me, that is a serious error in judgment, and that is why I believe he is overrated. If people say, yeah, he's just a good player, they're not overrating him. But if you say he's a better player than Paolo and Reeves, I think you're overrating him. So, and guys, one last thought here, the cherry on top. Franz Wagner's not even the guy on his national team, okay? That's the German Jordan, Dennis Schroeder. Franz isn't even the dude on his national team. So I think he's overrated. Dwight Walton, you're up, my friend. Here's the bat. I'm the pinata. Swing away.
You know what? I will respectfully disagree with your who's the man on the German national team discussion here. I think Franz is the man on the German national team. I understand that Dennis Schroeder turns into a different player when he plays for his home country. Yes, he is the point guard. Yes, he is the leader. But I believe the catalyst for what Germany wants to do on both ends of the floor is Franz Wagner. I believe AM brought up Franz Wagner's defensive statistics about a month ago when this discussion was first brought up. He is not as bad a defender as you point him out to be, Rick. He may not be a rim protector because he's 6'10", but there's other parts of defense besides protecting the rim. So I think he brings it on both ends of the floor. I think right now, as much as we want to talk about Paolo Banchero being the franchise player for the Orlando Magic, I don't think the Magic are as good as they currently are, although they've fallen back this season, due in part mainly to the injury woes that this team has suffered, and of course the lack of three-point shooting. But I think Franz Wagner is one of the major reasons as to why the Magic are who they are. There are major questions about Paolo Banchero right now. He is a terrific individual talent, but is he about the team? Does he make his teammates better? Does he bring it on both ends of the floor consistently enough for me to say that he is definitively better than than Franz Wagner? I cannot sit here and honestly tell you that. So Franz Wagner is not overrated. He is one of the better power forwards that we currently have in the NBA. And when healthy, he is clutch. He wants the smoke. He wants the ball down the gut of the game. That may be one of the issues that the Magic are currently having. I think there may be some internal strife between who the man should be on the Magic. Should it be Paolo Banchero or should it be Franz Wagner? But to answer the question, I know this is long-winded, Franz Wagner is not overrated at all. He is one of the better players currently in the league when healthy, specifically at the power forward position. No question about it.
Dr. X, is Franz Wagner overrated?
No, he is not. I think the only reason we're having this discussion is for two reasons. Number one is that we had that, is he better than Reeves? Is he the number one, he or Paolo? The only reason we're having this discussion again is because he's injured. But when healthy, he's right there, if not better than Paolo. And the thing about Paolo is Paolo has had all this time and hasn't really done anything with the Magic. They actually started dipping, because when it was just Franz, we were saying, you know what? Watch when Paolo comes back, they'll only be better, because they were winning when Franz was there. So I would say Franz impacts winning more than Paolo. So that's the first discussion we had. So I'm still with that. And I think Franz is, I want to say he's healthier. I think they're about equal in terms of missing games. There's always something with Paolo. There's always something with Franz. I think Franz already tore his ACL. And then his brother, the next year, right? Mo. So now, as it pertains to Reeves, I'll say that I would probably take a Reeves now in retrospect, seeing how he opened up the season, how he's been playing. But I don't think that means that Franz is overrated, because I think Austin Reeves is better. So that's where I stand, my brother.
Okay, I got you loud and clear. I love this. The comments are coming through. Baller James says overrated. User MP says great player. User, and it's just a bunch of letters. Sorry, I don't know what's going on there. He says he is talented, boy. So, hey, we love y'all out there. I can see the comments you guys are sending. The boys got me a new MacBook here, okay? So my whole thing is upgraded. Now I'm seeing the comments from the people at AM
Nice.
We slide it over to you. Just like you, Dwight, they hooked a brother up over here,
there
man.
You go, Rick.
It's Dwight, it's fancy. It's almost too fancy. Anyway, AM Pfeffer, dude, is Franz Wagner overrated?
I'll get to that in a second, but Kai, Jason, we're taking a trip to the Mac store right after this show. You're picking two guys up. Like, I want in on the action, just to know. I'm getting the X over here. Doc, don't worry, you'll get
the
invoice
Family
in the mail
Feud
in a couple
X.
weeks.
That's what that was, right?
Dennis Schroeder has been in the league in the NBA for 13 seasons. Franz for 5. All right, Dennis is a crafty veteran, and yeah, let's give him his flowers. 2023 FIBA, 2025 the Euro. He was incredible. Yes. He was MVP. But it's not like Franz wasn't there. It's not like he wasn't playing all-star level ball when he was on the German team. So I hear what you're saying there, but like people who understand world basketball, and Dwight Walton certainly one of them, know Franz Wagner is very well respected, and he's just as good as Dennis Schroeder, if not better, and he really is the man on the German team. Now, let me ask you this question, guys. Is Franz Wagner a top 20 two-way player in the NBA?
No way.
Hold on. Wait.
No
I brought up earlier.
Two-way. That's what you did there.
Wait, Rick. He's trying to. He's not fooling me, right? Because he brought the stat up about a month ago, like I said earlier. If you listen to his question, if you go by the statistics, Franz Wagner is a top 20 two-way player in the NBA. Yes, I'm at your question. Yes.
I know.
You're gonna say yes. Now you're gonna like this. Rick's gonna like this. Dwight, you might not love it as much. I don't
Oh
think he's a
no.
top 20 player, two-way player in the NBA. But am I even asking that question about Austin Reeves or Paolo Banchero? No, it's a ludicrous question to ask about either of those guys. I'm sorry to say. You can rightfully say, or you can nicely say about both those guys, they're improving defensively.
Right.
But Franz Wagner is actually an excellent two-way player. And if you go back to last season, and I get it, Rick, you're the king of DMPs, and yeah, he didn't have enough of them, and he had a stretch, an abdominal strain during the All-Star voting time. He easily could have been an All-Star last year. And yeah, again, he's DNPing this year, and he's missing out. So in that respect, he's properly rated in the fact that he's just not there for his team when he should be. But you're talking about a guy who could defend 4 out of 5 positions easily. Nobody's throwing him on the point guard, but as a 6'10 power forward, you're easily putting him on the 2 through 5 with no concerns if you're the coach, and you need him running all over the court, getting it done. Not a rim protector, but a great defender, a great offensive player whose numbers are actually up and the metrics are actually up a little bit offensively this year. He's phenomenal. He's not overrated. He's a great, awesome two-way player in the NBA. He's not elite. He's not in the top 20. Some of his metrics, thank you, Dwight, and I did go into this a month ago about him, are spectacular if you look at his advanced defensive metrics. I'm still taking him over Reeves. I'm absolutely taking him over Banchero because the way I look at it is how you're building a team. If you want certain guys on the team that you're building from, I want Reeves, the way they're using him now, coming off the bench as an absolute wildfire. He's awesome. I'm not taking anything away from Reeves. I might take away something from Banchero, but I ain't going to sit here and let anyone take anything more away from Franz Wagner. He's a huge component on the Orlando Magic when healthy.
All right. I mean, I'll take the L. You guys haven't won me over. I knew I was going to already take an L here, and it's completely fine. I mean, you guys are making great points. Just the analytic thing, and I don't really want to go down this road. I just want to say, a lot of people are into them. They use them to support arguments. They use them to evaluate players, and that's fine. I'm more of an eye test, gut test guy. What am I watching on TV? And you know, are guys able to hold up defensively? And by the way, and I say this very, very jokingly, AM, how dare you call me the king of the DNP? Anthony Davis is the king of the DNP, okay? I had the flu for 3 weeks in January. I missed one show, okay? Anthony Davis has played one game this year, okay? Has he even played one game? I don't know. Hey, so anyway, okay, so guys, we will agree to disagree on that. Now, let's now shift into Paolo Banchero here. Dr. X, you first. Do you see a Paolo Banchero explosion now that Franz Wagner is out? Doc, at least 3 weeks, right? And then there's the re-eval, and so he's probably out at least a month, maybe 5 weeks with that ramp-up built in, if everything goes well. So Paulo's going to have a runway here as the clear number 1 in Orlando. Do you see a Paolo explosion?
Based off the fact that he didn't explode, like he didn't hit the headlines for me, I think people were actually questioning how good is he at this point. Can he be a franchise guy going forward? So he had that opportunity. Franz was out, and he didn't rise to the occasion. So I don't see how that would be any different. I think the person in Paolo's way is himself, and his health, because you know when he is healthy, he's not consistent. And I just think it's a mental thing because physically he meets all the metrics. He's a 6'10" body. He can handle the rock. He can shoot. He can post up. He can hit the mid range. He has all these things. So he's just not putting it together. And you know he has the hyper green light. So I guess teams are keying in on him. The scouting reports out, and they're game planning for him. So it makes it harder with Franz not there. Now everybody, but that, to my point, Franz had that same scenario and he rose to the occasion.
All right, so he does not see a Paolo explosion. AM, I'll go back to you here. Do you see a Paolo explosion with Franz out for the next month or so?
No, not really. I'm not expecting a Paolo explosion. I'm expecting him to do what he's been doing, which is which has been a little underwhelming for the season. It'll continue to be underwhelming through the rest of the season, just like the Orlando Magic have been underwhelming all year. I'm not really sure what's going on down there, but I'm not expecting Paolo to just come out and all of a sudden kill it after All-Star break. I'd like to see this guy get back on track. We all want to be big fans of him. Parts of his game are special. They really are. But, you know, he's got to find that consistency in there. And as of now, not seeing it at all.
All right, Dwight Walton, do you see a Paolo explosion here? You know, these guys are not. Are you?
This speaks to my point earlier. And I am by no means saying that there is an internal battle going on in the Magic's locker room in terms of who the number one player on the Magic is. But what I can say is that Paolo Banchero is starting to be exposed a little bit in terms, everybody has individual skill, individual talent for the most part in the NBA. That's why they're there. But we're talking about a player who's supposed to be the face of the franchise. Does he make himself better? Does he make his teammates better? Does he impact winning? I think you can sometimes see on the floor, and this is just simply based on the eye test, I think there's a battle. I think Paolo wants to be the man. Franz Wagner wants to be the man. But now I can equate this to what happened with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in Boston. You can tell that Jaylen Brown is relishing in the fact that Jason Tatum is not there right now. So to answer your question, do I see an explosion? I don't see an explosion, but do I see Paolo relishing in the fact that Franz Wagner is not in the lineup? Yes, I do. So I think Paolo will try to reestablish himself in his mind as the number one player for the Magic, and he has every opportunity now to remind the basketball world that I'm the number one overall pick. I'm supposed to be the franchise player in Orlando. I'm going to try and make this thing work. Again, it's right in front of him. If he wants to make a story for himself and the Magic and try to have gain some momentum as they go towards the playoffs here, because right now they are backtracking. They're not playing well. Again, it's the injuries. I thought the Magic would be a lot better this season. They still have the rest of the season and a possible playoff run to prove me wrong. But do I see an explosion from Paolo Banchero? Maybe not an explosion, but I will see a player who will relish in the fact that his running mate, Franz Wagner, is not in the lineup.
All right, we'll see. This is 4 for 4. And I don't take back anything I said about I would rather have Paolo than Franz. I think Paolo is a better player. There's more upside. I'll die on that hill. However, my answer to this question, is Paolo about to explode in the second half, is a no. Okay. And I want to say yes, but, and when I went into it, you know, you maybe have a thought, yeah, I'm thinking he is. And then you kind of do research and think about it more and you're like, nah, I gotta pivot here. So last year, Paolo Banchero, remember there was a lot of no Franz and a lot of no Suggs last year. And he spiked to 29 points per game after the All-Star break. Phenomenal run. And then heading into the playoffs, and he was killing it, man. Huge game after huge game after huge game. He was 22 PPG before the All-Star break last year, +7 after the break. But I'm not feeling Paolo in that way, and I'm not feeling Orlando at all this year. They've increased their pace, which was horrible last year, and they've gotten their pace up. They have succeeded in that, but their defense has dropped out as a result. I wouldn't have changed anything. I like the ascent that they were on. They were 1, 2, or 3 in defense. Now they're not up there anymore. You're not elite in any way. At least be elite on one end of the court. So I love Jamal Mosley. And look, it's probably not even him. It's probably a collab with all of the AM Pfeffers of the Orlando Magic, all these metric guys, right? Dude, we got to get the pace up. No matter what. I don't care if we lose 5 more games. We got to get the pace up. Why? Because the analytics say that we have to get the pace up. Well, what if it drops our defense from elite to mid? Well, we got to do it anyway. No, you don't. Okay. So I'm always battling these analytics departments and these medical teams and all this kind of stuff. And AM wants to go hug them. Okay, so we're very, very different that way. But guys, Paolo Banchero in February. Check out these numbers in February. He was horrible. Okay, 18, 6, and 4, 40% shooting, 33% from three. That's like 6 games in February, right? Horrible though. Another reason why there's no second half explosion. Like I said, last year you had all the injuries. Suggs is healthy. Hold on a second. Ah, dang it. I just jinxed Suggs. I said he's healthy. Suggs, look out. Check your insurance premiums if they're all like paid up and stuff. Boy, I just jinxed the hell out of Jalen Suggs. He's healthy for now. And you have Desmond Bane. So Paula's not going to have to just like carry the whole franchise on his shoulders. I do not see a second half explosion. Fellas, let's dive into a Kyrie Irving Mavs tanking discussion. And I'm going to set it up and then wind up Dr. X here. And you guys go around and I'll finish it off. Are the Mavs tanking with a Kyrie Irving shutdown? Here are the details. Kyrie's going to miss the remainder of the season, continuing to recover from knee surgery. He had a torn left ACL, and that was in March. Okay, we're a few days from March, which would be the 12-month mark, which is well beyond the point when most dudes return from this injury. The Mavericks announced Wednesday he's making steady. I don't even want to read blah 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 blah. Okay, so this predictable report comes 1 week after we got this report. DallasHoopsJournal.com. Kyrie Irving is expected to be physically able to play after the All-Star break. A return in March would mean a 12-month recovery. Guys, I'm not a pro, far freaking from it, okay? 3 universes away from it, okay? That said, I was hooping 7 months after ACL surgery. Just saying, okay? Mark Cuban is trying to lobby the league office to not fine them with this gibberish that you saw him put out on Twitter with all kinds of like punctual mistakes, by the way. Cubes, you're better than this. Proofread your stuff before you put it out there for the world to see, brah. Come on, you're better than that. You're a billionaire. Stop paying Indiana for all these players and double check your work, my brother. So he said, and I quote, why the NBA should embrace tanking. The NBA should worry more about fan experience than tanking. It should worry more about pricing fans out of games than tanking. You know who cares the least about tanking? A parent who can't afford to bring their 3 kids to a game and buy their kids a jersey of their fave player. Tanking isn't the issue. Affordability and quality of game presentation are. This is the biggest bunch of bull crap I've heard all year. Actually, the second biggest, because everything that comes out of Steve Kerr's mouth is a lie, okay? So second on that list is Cubano with this bull crap. Is he kidding me right now? Think about this, guys. Think about this. It should worry about pricing fans out of games, okay? Mark, are you and Dumont and the Adelson family going to drop ticket prices at American Airlines Center so Mavericks fans can more easily go to your games? Of course not. Okay, are they going to drop the price of jerseys? No, they are not, okay? You go to Fanatics and you can get the lower end for like 70, 80 bucks. You get a swing man, you get all these hardwood. It's a lot of money, okay? Are you going to lower the price of that? Okay, so this is a bunch of garbage from Mark Cuban. Again, you're so much better than that. Dr. X, I go to you. Are the Mavs guilty of tanky behavior here with Kyrie Irving?
I would say you got to given Kyrie's history of being injured often and having freak accidents. Kyrie has, went to the finals and ruptured his patellar tendon. He just tore his ACL. Then he really sprained his ankle bad when he was with Durant and Harden. I would say this makes sense for a player that's a vet like him, has this much mileage, had issues even in college. Why would you allow him to play after you traded? I mean, we'd have to then consider trading Anthony Davis as technically tanking for Chris Middleton. You know what I mean? So if that trade isn't considered that versus that's just a move, a business decision, I think this kind of goes with it as well. They're kind of protecting their asset. Someone who's often injured, has a lot of mileage in his body, and not allowing him to play on a team that they know doesn't have any chance at winning this year. Now, whether that's called tanking, I wouldn't say that's tanking. I would say tanking for the Dallas Mavericks currently constructed would mean that they're up by 8 and Cooper Flag has 30 points already and they sit him for the fourth quarter, or he doesn't play the second half, or he pulls a Darren Peterson and fakes a hamstring injury or tightness or cramps and doesn't play. That's tanking right there. That's blatant tanking. I don't think this is blatant given his history. And I would give, because it's Kyrie Irving and the history, I would give him a pass on that. So no.
Did you, Doc? I just got to clarify. Did you say Darren Peterson fakes? Is that the word I heard right there? Please tell me more.
And I know my cousin agrees with me.
No!
I know my cousin agrees with me because he's technically not a pro yet, cuz. So you don't have to protect the pros. He's technically not a pro yet.
Hold on.
So if you think he's wait, let me just finish this thought. If you know in your heart of hearts that he's faking, right, and protecting his asset, right, by not playing and risking injury when he's not hurt, and everybody else, including the coach, knows it's BS. Everybody knows it's BS, right? So when he magically becomes a pro next year, I don't think he's going to change his activities. And technically, they're pros right now. So that goes to my point that pros do fake injuries.
Okay, I'm not saying you're wrong, cuz. Listen, I don't know if he faked the hamstring injury. What he did last night in his game,
I just said hamstring. Sorry, I meant tight. He just said cramping. It was very vague.
Yep.
Yeah.
What he did last night was criminal. And now I'm starting to believe that his camp is telling him what to do. He's telling us, listen, this is how great. I know we're off topic right now.
Yeah, this is great. Keep going.
This is how great Darren Peterson is and why he seems to be the consensus #1 pick in the draft. I still would go in the direction of AJ DeBanza, but that's just my preference as a scout and because the way the NBA is going today. Not that Darren Peterson doesn't fit what's happening in the NBA today, but AJ DeBanza is 6'10", y'all, 6'10", and his trajectory is through the roof. Yes, he may have some things to learn on both ends of the floor. Yes, he may have to get a little bit stronger in terms of the position that he's going to have to play possibly when he gets to the next level, but he fits all the makings, all of the metrics. But to get back to Darren Peterson, the show that he is putting on in games to where he's basically a bucket every 30 seconds, the efficiency that he plays with, it's like he's teasing us. It's like he's a movie. He's showing us trailers every time he plays, and then he's telling us, wait for the real movie when I get to the NBA. That's how great he is. So I am starting to transition to where my cousin is, to where I don't know if he's faking injuries, but I think his camp is telling him, just make sure you get to the finish line. I'm sure his teammates who want to win a national championship this season are not happy, nor is Bill Self. He hit the tipping point in his post-game press conference last night because he didn't just give you the normal coach speak in a post-game presser. He was pretty forthright with us in terms of his frustration. But Darren Peterson is absolutely trying to just make sure that he gets to the finish line. I don't think he's concerned whether his team at Kansas has a deep run of the tournament or not, because he just wants to make sure that he's healthy when he becomes the #1 pick in the draft. Again, I would take DeBanza, but Darren Peterson is showing us how great he is in the spurts that he plays. Now, to get to this tanking situation, I think there's layers to it, fellas. What has happened is, at the beginning of the year, we saw Jason Kidd give the ball to Cooper Flagg and say, play the point guard position, the same way he did it with Giannis Antetokounmpo. That didn't go so well, right? Okay, but as the season went on, and this is what NBA radios and Boston Celtics analyst Brian Scalabrine has been saying for the past 4 years, this dude is smart on both ends of the floor, and once you tell him something once, he doesn't need to be told again. And as you've seen him progress over the course of this season, he has gotten better and better and better. So that's the first layer to the Mavs tanking. The second layer is when they traded Anthony Davis to the Washington Wizards. So they've been pretty much going to script here. Then Derek Lively got hurt. He was out for the season. Daniel Gafford has been in and out of the Mavs lineup all season long. Then, right after the Anthony Davis trade, we saw Cooper Flag take off offensively. A 49-point game one night, 35-point game the next. Then the All-Star break came. Now, post All-Star break, I think the end of the scheme or the plan for the Mavericks tanking this season is telling Kyrie Irving to shut it down until next season. We've been teased since September as to how well Kyrie Irving has been recovering from his ACL injury last March. And we didn't see as many videos as we've seen of Jason Tatum, but we've seen enough video to where we absolutely thought Kyrie Irving was coming back after the All-Star break. I think there was even reports, as you read earlier, Rick, that there were signs that he was coming back. But once Davis was traded at the deadline, once the All-Star break came, and the ascension that Cooper Flag has given, the Mavs are telling us that we want to build around Cooper Flag. We want to make sure we position ourselves for the draft this summer. Imagine the Mavs getting a top 4 pick again after getting Flag last year. They can get a Peterson. They can get an AJ DeBanza. They can get my cousin's favorite player, Nathan Ament. They can get a Caleb Wilson. They can get a Boozer. They can get somebody to pair with Cooper Flag going forward here, and a healthy Kyrie Irving who will serve as a mentor. I have from a very, very reliable source that Kyrie Irving and not Luka Doncic was the absolute leader in that locker room when Doncic was a Dallas Maverick. So it's pretty clear that the ownership group wants to have Kyrie Irving in the locker room as a mentor to the young players that are going to be groomed as Cooper Flag transitions to be the franchise player for the Dallas Mavericks going forward.
A.M. Pfeffer, is this tanky behavior by the Dallas Mavericks or kind of legit, as Doc and Dwight are saying?
Yeah, it's definitely tanky behavior. And Rick, I'm glad you called out the Oracle in this respect, because yeah, it was a load of bull crap. Even I'm not going to sit here on my perch and defend him in the way he did it and the timing of shutting down Kyrie. However, I do have to put a however on this. There is an asterisk of it all. Everything Doc said, everything Dwight said, Kyrie Irving's in his 30s. He's had major injury history before. If you're telling me it's an ACL, if you're telling me it's an Achilles and the guy doesn't play at all for the year, I'm shrugging my shoulders at that a little bit and saying it's just another arrow in your quiver to tank, but it's not as overt as what the other teams are doing, and it's certainly not what you did a few years ago when you said were fined $750,000, ended up with Derek Lively in the draft. It's nowhere near that. I'm not upset by it. It's okay. He's going to be on the team. He's going to be there next year. They're going to retool, reset, reload. Again, I talked about it the other day. This is not on the teams. This is on the NBA right now. And it's tanky behavior, but it's not egregious.
So Correa Gage had a funny comment on Darren Peterson. She said, learning to load manage early. And Correa, yes, but that sucks, okay? Load management is in college basketball. It was only a matter of time. All right, fellas, I have a dramatically different answer than any of you guys, and I love you guys. I loved it when Dwight made the trailer analogy about Darren Peterson. Dwight, that was a grand slam home run, my friend. I loved that. It was really good. My answer is yes. This is tanky behavior by the Dallas Mavericks. This is blatant tanky behavior by the Mavericks. It's not on Kyrie Irving. Okay, he's a pawn in this game right now. Pardon me. The timing of Cubano putting that out and then the announce. He's like, again, he's like, please don't find us. Please don't find us. It's a smoke screen. Poof, like the magician on stage. Poof. And then like they disappear. The woman disappears. I don't damn know. You guys, when Kawhi Leonard is leading the NBA in availability, we have a problem. Okay? Think about this. If Kawhi Leonard is playing for the Clippers, the godfather of load management, Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi Leonard is playing for the LA Clippers, let's get that 10th spot and be a play-in tournament team. That's all that's there for them, okay? They could easily say, screw it. And I don't think they have their draft picks, so it's one of those deals. But if Kawhi Leonard is playing for the Clippers, after Harden was traded and Zubac was traded, then Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Trae Young, to a degree, Sabonis and Levine, who were just shut down. Could they play? They had surgery. It's Sacramento. I no longer care. But, Anthony Davis could play right now. There's not a doubt in my mind. Guys, it was a finger injury on his non-shooting. Give me a freaking break, dude. All right? And Trae Young's been healthy all year. He got shut down by Atlanta because he fell in a favor. They were going to trade him, all right? And then now Washington's tanking. And Kyrie. It's been 12 months, dude, since an ACL surgery. I guarantee Kyrie Irving could play basketball and hoop tonight on an NBA hardwood and not die, okay? Guys, here's the solution. Once again, the load management police department to the rescue, like MJ back in the day. Hey, Doc, there's a fire raging on the left wing. Allen Houston's on a heater. What do? Call timeout, put MJ on Allen Houston, and Allen Houston then goes ice cold, okay? That's what you got to do here. Call up the LMPD, the Load Management Police Department, please, for the love of Pete. All right, the NBA hires the best orthopedic doctors in the country. Dr. X, I know you're busy. Maybe they can holler at you. All right, and so you guys and girls would travel to Dallas and you would travel to Washington, D.C., and put these players through rigorous examinations to determine if they can be cleared to play, okay? If not, then you will know how much longer it will take, and then the league will make the decision for the teams based on these third-party diagnoses, okay? The problem with the current setup is that the teams are lying to the league's face about their star players. They are lying, L-I-E. You're all liars, okay? Adam is getting punked by his own league right now, and it's very, very sad. Guys, trust is gone. Teams are lying to Adam, laughing at him. And look, they get away with this because the league office is softer than cashmere, and they say, okay, you do whatever you want. I'll fine you $100,000, and teams are laughing, okay? It's so ridiculous. It's ruining the league, guys. It is creating countless unwatchable games, greatly diminishes the product. When tanking for picks has 1/3 of your league trying to lose, your league is broken. That's what's happening right now. 1/3 of the league is tanking, guys, some more overtly than others. 1/3 of your league is trying to lose games. Think about that. This is out of control, fellas. The NFL does not tank, even when fans want them to, okay? I've worked in the Minnesota market. Oh, we should just lose games. The Atlanta market. Oh, we should just lose games. And they get pissed when their team wins a Week 17 game against some crummy team, right? Oh, we went from 4 to 8 in the draft. Your front offices don't think that way. And check this out, guys. Look, Roger Goodell, I think, sucks with his vetting of punishments, but he does have a heavy hand, and it's working in the NFL. I also have other issues with Roger Goodell. You know, we could go into diversity and all kinds of stuff, okay, or lack thereof. But you guys get the point. At least Roger has gotten this right. Guys, the NFL penalizes tanking. They enforce severe penalties under the commissioner's authority for actions detrimental to the league. Punishments include heavy fines, forfeiture of high draft picks, and suspensions for team personnel. And guys, if David Stern took 5 first-round picks away from the Timberwolves, later reduced to 3 for the handshake agreement with Joe Smith, which was some of the biggest dumbassery in the history of the league, again, the Wicked Witch is dead. Glenn Taylor's no longer around to screw up and torture my team and our fan base. Then guess what? Adam Silver can take away the Wizards' first-round pick or the Mavs' first-round pick. He can do it, okay? Because it's conduct detrimental to the league. But Adam is too soft to do that, okay? The league already predetermines who gets the number 1 overall pick. They do. We know this. It's frozen envelopes. There's all kinds of skeletons in that closet. Cooper Flagg, the pick that Ted Leonsis got right after he bought the team, the pick that the Pelicans got right after they bought the team from the league. Remember, the team was operating that. The league was operating the team at that point. And I know I worked for the NBA at the time. They hated it. Okay, they were begging somebody to come buy that team. Somebody bought the team. Bam, they got the first overall pick. Coincidence? Hell no. Okay, Doc, Patrick Ewing back in the day. Was that a coincidence? Hell no. Okay, so you already kind of puppet string your league. Okay, so stop tanking. All right, start whacking these teams with draft picks. Unless, and otherwise, we're just going to sit here and keep complaining. All right, let's put a timer on this one, guys. 60 seconds or less here. As we get into, actually, we don't need a timer on this one. We don't. We're fine on time. So, Doc, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Quickest 4 to 6 weeks ever with Giannis? So, Giannis, calf injury. He said Saturday that he currently feels 100% and could play in a game today. He'd been sidelined since straining his right calf for the second time this season during a January 23rd loss to the Nugs. At the time, he said a 4 to 6 week recovery. And Doc astutely pointed out that he said it with a smirk. Okay, detective / Dr. Phil McDonald, check that out. Giannis said, so once I check all those boxes, I'm ready to go. I feel like I can play a game today. Giannis has made it clear that he's going to play again this season. But Doc, I ask you, you're one of the top sports medicine radiologists in the country. Is this the quickest 4 to 6 weeks ever?
I think personally they slapped this 4 to 6 weeks timeline just to, bump people in the middle in terms of when they come back and make sure they don't come back too early. Yeah, you could come back. You could come back from technically a calf strain in 3 weeks. You could probably come back the next day. I'm sure people have had calf strains and played through it and, still play, but it's not wise. I remember several players a few years ago, I think Rudy Gay had Achilles tightness and would play every other game. And then eventually he ruptured his Achilles too. So I think because of the nature of how many ruptures they've been having with star players, they stamped this 4 to 6 weeks thing on it. I think it's too extreme. Hopefully they just, they know it's 4 to 6 weeks is safe, but they take case by case. In this case, Giannis could play. I felt him saying all of that. I never felt it was as bad as he was saying. I think it was to kind of force the hand of the organization to really look at the trade options and trade scenarios. And I feel also based off of that, when he said it on Valentine's Day, he could have technically played for the All-Star game. I think that was kind of robbed the league, and we should kind of get on him for that as well. I just felt it was bad timing and everything. It is the quickest 4 to 6 weeks, but that whole All-Star game timing is bad for me. I think he will come back and play. And I know, Rick, we were on record saying that was his last game. And I think we also felt that. I think Dwight was saying he would be back or yeah, Dwight said he would be back. Yeah. So all in all, he's been milking this injury to gain control of the situation. And as you see, I'm 100%. I guess that's just the way he talks in superlatives, but it seems a little extreme to go from, a tight calf muscle all year on and off to 100%, maybe 95, maybe, something like that, and ramping up activity, things like that. But it just seemed like it's almost like a switch. He just turned it on, and now he's 100%. So with that said, I think the only thing I'm pissed about with what I just heard is that he could have played for All-Star Weekend. But for me, as his fantasy, as the owner of my fantasy team, he's on my team. I'm happy that he's back, and hopefully he plays very soon.
But he's got to ramp up, Doc. You know how he's got to go through 1-on-1 and then 3-on-3 and then 5-on-5 and then play basketball. Do you love the game or not? So annoying
exactly.
to me.
Thank you.
Come on. Come on. This is such a joke. All right, AM Pfeffer. Fastest or quickest 4 to 6 weeks ever with Giannis?
You're on mute, AM.
Somehow, I was okay. I said, I'm going to leave this to Doc. I'm going to leave this to Dwight. Rick, I'm going to leave this to you. I'm going to go a little bit more beyond the surface here because I think it's a good time. You know, we've spoken about the Bucks so much this year, and now we're past the All-Star game. We are obviously past the trade deadline. Giannis is still on the team, and as Dwight pointed out, he's still in that uniform and most likely going to play another game in a Bucks uniform and be on that hardwood sometime at the end of this year. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the Bucks. We have to put like the final stamp on this and what's happening with their draft picks. I hope you give me the leeway to do this for just a moment. 2026, this coming year, okay? Yeah, this is pretty cool. So I know we've spoken a lot about this. The Bucks really do have a pick this year, right? So what happens is Atlanta gets the better of the New Orleans Pelicans or the Milwaukee Bucks picks. Atlanta gets to choose, but the Bucks either keep their own pick if Atlanta takes the New Orleans pick, or if New Orleans takes the Bucks pick, the Bucks then, if Atlanta takes the Bucks pick, because that's better than New Orleans pick, the Bucks do get New Orleans pick. That's just an absurd, right? Like crazy Joe Dumars trade, especially for this year, knowing how good this draft would have been. So think about this for a second. What if the Pelicans in the lottery and the Bucks get like 1 and 2? The Bucks are going to end up with a super high pick. It's not fair and shouldn't happen, especially what they've been doing and what they've been doing with Giannis. But like, you know, they're probably going to be somewhere between 3 through 8 in their pick and end up with the pick this year. Next year, it gets even a bit more interesting. And again, I think I'm bringing this all up because Giannis is still on the team. They haven't traded him yet. They're still trying to figure out how to make things work, even with all their big problems. Next year, guess what? It's Atlanta, New Orleans, and the Bucks all over again. But it goes the other way, where the Bucks pick reverts to the Pelicans this year, depending on what Atlanta wants to do, and there's a top 4 protection. So let me just put a little color on that. If the Pelicans and the Bucks end up in the top 4 of the lottery, the Pelicans get both of those picks. If it falls at top 4, Atlanta's going to get one of those picks, either the Bucks or the Pelicans. Everybody follow all that? But I think it was worth explaining as to like why Giannis is still on the team and what the Bucks might be thinking and who they might still potentially end up with this year, but not the Pelicans. What a trade by Joe Dumars.
Yeah, I would need to talk. I would need a little session. You're the professor, AM. I would need a little session with the PA to fully grasp what we just all took. I am not ready for the exam right now. Some research.
I was told there'd be no math in this line of questioning.
Yeah, I can't go kick it. You know, with my frat brothers. If I'll play down the street, I got a lot.
Forget 2027 for a second, because what I'm really saying is the Bucks do not have a pick. No matter what, they're giving up their pick in 2027, Atlanta, New Orleans. But this year, 2026, they are going to have a pick, and it's not top 4 protected. So depending on who Atlanta takes, either the Bucks pick or the New Orleans pick, and at this point you're watching the tank happen, certainly down in New Orleans and how bad they have been, and potentially what's going to happen with Milwaukee with whatever they do with Giannis. Does he play? Does he not? Does he get another phantom injury 4 days from now? Blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, they could still end up with a very high pick. And what happens if Milwaukee ends up with one of these top 5 or 6 guys? It's still very much on the table that they can this year in this year's draft.
You guys, we do indeed go beyond the surface here on the X-Rated Sports Network, and we all attack this from different angles, right, which is so beautiful, and we bring it to a beautiful boil for you every Monday and every Thursday right here on your laptop or your device or whatever. So, Dwight Walton, the floor is yours. There is not a clock, and I would like you to get in on this. Was that the quickest 4 to 6 weeks ever?
As I mentioned in our group chat, Rick, if you go by I'm not sure of the exact amount of days, but I believe by the time he gets on, okay. By the time he gets on the, okay, cuz by the time he gets on the court, could it be this week? Could it be next week? It'll be a month. No, it'll be 4 weeks.
Yeah, to go with the narrative, but he said he's 100%. Okay. He could play.
So Giannis, how can it be quick if it's going to be 4 weeks?
Well, because it sounds like he was healthy after 2 weeks.
Okay, right. Of course he's going to say that. He's allowed to say that. Doesn't mean it's true. But by the time we see him
he's a professional athlete. Everything he says is true.
Okay, fair enough, Phil. Fair enough. But to ask, that's why this is kind of a weird caption, Rick. With all due respect, you're asking if this is the quickest 4 to 6 weeks. By the time we see him on the court again, it's 4 weeks, so it's not quick. I think it's to the point we can all question whether Giannis was truly hurt or not. I'm willing to go that route, but because there was a plan in place, I said I'm willing to go that route. I didn't.
That means you are
going. I didn't say I'm going that route.
Oh, come on, Doc.
Route.
I mean, we are in the weeds with words here. Come on.
Willing is enough.
That's fair.
Willing is enough for me. Yeah,
but the reality is, if you listen to Bobby Portis's interview on NBA radio last week, they're talking about making the playoffs. They feel comfortable with this roster, and they say they can make a run in the playoffs. And that goes totally against what AM just put out there in terms of Milwaukee's draft choices. Of course, I think it would behoove the Bucks to sort of tank, if you will, so they can position themselves to get Darren Peterson or an AJ DeBanza or a Caleb Wilson or a Nathan Ament or one of the Boozer twins, so they can entice Giannis Antetokounmpo to want to stay in Milwaukee, right? But again, the reason why I don't want to say that Giannis is faking an injury, I don't know him personally, but I know he's hella competitive. He's hyper competitive. I think it's killing him that he's not able to play. That's why I think there is some validity to this calf strain, right? And calf strains can be questioned as much as we want to question them until the Achilles eventually blows. I remember leading up to Kevin Durant playing in game 3 of the NBA Finals back in 2019. Everybody was always questioning, when is Kevin Durant coming back? Shouldn't the calf strain be healed already? They were basically calling him a faker at that time. So what does he do?
No, they aren't.
Because of pressure, he comes back, has a great first quarter. It wasn't a coincidence that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson had their best quarter in that series because of the presence of Kevin Durant. And then what happens on the first play of the second quarter? The Achilles blows. So calf strains need to be dealt with. They're a very sensitive injury. They need to be dealt with accordingly and properly until they heal. So we could talk about calf strains until we're blue in the face. We can debate how unquick or quick these 4 to 6 weeks were for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But the reality is, by the time we see him again, it's going to be at least a month since he's been on a basketball floor. And if I'm listening to Bobby Portis and the Bucks organization overall, they're trying to make a run, and they're trying to make a run for the NBA playoffs this season, despite what I think should be the proper way to go and try to position themselves for one of those high draft picks.
Doc, you want to comment?
No.
About Durant in 2019. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, put him in the Knicks. Put him in the Knicks warm up. That's perfect.
Okay. So I don't think KD succumbed to pressure. I think KD is a hooper, and it's the finals, and he wanted to risk everything. He knew there was risk involved. However, he was cleared by his doctors and team doctors. Jared Greenberg reported that at the time. Jared, sorry. So if that report was wrong, it came from Jared Greenberg. I'm just kidding. I love Jared Greenberg. He's my boy. But like, and especially the Warriors. This is Rick Celebrini. Like, this guy lives in bubble wrap. His house is covered in bubble wrap. He's the medical director of the Golden State Warriors, who never wants any of these players to play. If he had his way, Steph would play 40 games a year. And he'd probably want to trim the schedule down from 82 games to 55 games. And he probably hates the 65-game rule. And I'm not a big fan of his either. So you have that. Now, to answer...
Hey, Rick, hold on, Rick.
Yeah.
Do you see what's on my cousin's heart right now?
Oh, he knows.
Let me see here. Oh, Giannis.
Giannis to the Knicks, baby. Giannis to the Knicks.
Hey, could happen. By the way, we were talking at a production meeting. I'm not ready to take an L on, so it's not looking good for our prediction that Giannis played his last game with the Bucks. It's not looking good. However, what if something goes haywire? What's that?
I was right. I said he was going to play for the Bucks again.
No, but you're not right.
You're not
yet.
right yet. He's not on the hardwood.
You're not right yet. He has not played. Okay. So I'm just saying, like, I'm getting cute with you guys here. But what if God forbid, what if something happens? Giannis actually doesn't come back this year, and then they trade him in the offseason, and then we're going to be like, see, we told you. But it's not looking good right now. I will give you that, Dwight. You're probably going to get the win on that one. All right, here's my answer. Of course, it's the quickest 4 to 6 weeks ever. Guys, Giannis is not a good actor outside of his commercials. I see you, Giannis. I was at LAX flying home, and I saw him, with the grin, selling like Bulgari jewelry or something. I don't even remember the dang brand. There's so many fine stores in there, but Giannis is like, he's like, with a diamond or something. I don't know. Yeah, Giannis, I see you. Make that bread, dude. So he's trying to sell the injury on. Yeah, what's that?
You saw him for real in LAX?
No. I saw he's in an ad for like a cologne or jewelry. Yeah. But we've seen a lot of TV commercials too. But I was like, damn, Giannis, I'm seeing you everywhere. You're on my TV. You're on the. Actually, he's not on the court because it was the quickest 4 to 6 weeks ever. So he's tried to sell the injury on the court. He kind of bows down with his gait a little bit, and the wince and the grimace and the limp and it hurts so it burns. Oh, the heat, it burns. Feel the pain. I mean, come on, dude. Come on. I didn't buy that. All right. I didn't buy that at all. He's trying to sell a long time off the court, but guys, he broke character with the smirk in the post-game interview, okay? Yeah. I ain't buying that, dude. I ain't buying that. He's saying he can play in a game today, but still needs to play one-on-one against Pete Nance? What are we doing here? I'm not buying this, okay? Come on, man. Give me a break. Giannis, you're better than this. The teams are lying about injuries. The coaches are lying about injuries. The players are lying about injuries. Their agents are lying about injuries. And the league is lying to itself that everything is fine because ratings are up and attendance and blah, 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 blah. I can tell you guys something right now. The league thinks it's in great shape, and maybe with the books it is, okay? I hosted on NBA radio for 6 years. Dwight Walton, I'm sure, heard a lot of these conversations. Let's take some phone calls. Cam and AD here on Sirius XM NBA radio. Let's go to line one. It's Bill in Buffalo. I don't damn know, something like that. Every day we took a call from a fan who was done with the NBA on NBA radio. Tanking, load management. They couldn't stop complaining about it, okay? People would call up with sob stories about, I could have saved up all my money, took my kid to see Luka, and of course Luka doesn't play. And you have no sort of, especially for fans who aren't like locked in like we are, they don't damn know. They show up to the game. Whoa, Luka's not playing tonight? And like, we'd be like, dude, he missed the last 2 games. You know what I mean? But so they don't know that. That's fine. They're fans. It's our job to know that. It's their job to be a cop or an attorney or a doctor or whatever, okay? People would call up and tell us they're never going to go see a live NBA game again because it's too expensive, load management, their favorite players never play all the time, okay? And are these people still watching the NBA? Yes. But they're not spending their money on the NBA. They're not buying jerseys. They're not going to the games, okay? And again, like the NBA is doing fine. But if you continue to do this and eat away and cannibalize your own product, what are you going to be left with? Guys, League Pass is going to be largely. We have a Pacers-Wizards game tonight, guys. We have a Pacers-Wizards game tonight. This is going to be a thoroughly unwatchable game. I want to send condolences right now to the broadcasters for the Indiana Pacers and the Washington Wizards on this one, okay? This game is going to be absolutely dreadful. Like, when you're in play-by-play, it's not work, okay? It's fun. Now, it's work, okay? Because you've got to talk about next year and the development of players, and it just gets very, very dicey. Look, guys, I love the NBA. I always will. But the league is diseased right now. The league is
I'll be
diseased
watching.
right now.
I'll be watching the Wizards tonight.
I'll be watching the
Keyshawn
Knicks.
George, the Keyshawn George of it. I'm going to be watching Knicks and Pistons. And let's bring
I'll
in
be there.
Law Murray. Let's bring in Law Murray of The Athletic, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, longtime reporter for the Los Angeles Clippers and the mayor of Los Angeles last weekend, All-Star Weekend. Law, welcome back, sir. How you doing, man?
I'm hoping you guys can hear me because I don't know what my setup is mic-wise, but yeah, it's cool that you call me the mayor. I ain't even have to run for that, John. So
yeah. We didn't need to like rig an election or stuff ballot boxes. We just gave it to you, bro. You're the mayor of LA. So, Law, guys, I'm going to go the first two questions here. I want to kind of get Law talking about the weekend. Law, coolest conversation you had over All-Star Weekend?
coolest conversation. Well, it's documented. So the Athletic did a day in the life video, and they trailed me all Saturday afternoon. And one of the first people that I saw when I walked in was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I know Shai has, dealing with a little bit of an injury, so he wasn't able to actually play Sunday. He wasn't able to play Sunday. He was around Saturday, so I see him, and I just let him know he needs to get himself right. Stop hitting them abs as hard as he is, because he's got a strain there. So for me, that was the coolest. I mean, I've done All-Star so much that I just want to survive the weekend, and especially with it being in Los Angeles, it's actually overwhelming. Like, I'm cool with not doing this again for another 5 years. So on to Phoenix.
On to Phoenix. Okay, one more question for you about last weekend, Law. What's the best party you attended? You talked about surviving, okay, burning it at both ends. Some of us do that from time to time. What was the best party you attended?
Man, the best party I attended was when I got to my crib Saturday night and Sunday night after all this, man. Like, straight up. I got to the red zone on a couple of events happening Saturday night, and I had one of, like, yeah, that's a little bit of a sensitive subject, but I was in the red zone, but we ain't score. So just like I'm cool not having another one of these All-Star games in Los Angeles for another half decade, I'm cool with not having another Valentine's Day weekend All-Star as well. Like, that was a confluence of things that I'm just cool not revisiting anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry to go there. Let's turn the page, Law. Let's bring in Dr. X with a question for the great Law Murray. What's up, Doc?
Well, what's good, my brother? Real quick. Good, man. James Harden, I was talking to the guys earlier. What do you think? Do you think this is his best running mate ever in Donovan Mitchell? Or do you feel Kawhi? I mean, obviously we know Kawhi is where he stands in time and all the stuff he's accomplished, Finals MVP and all that. But do you think Donovan Mitchell currently right now, his talent level where he is right now versus Kawhi Leonard, or in anything James Harden's ever played with, is this his best, I would say, running mate?
I don't want to disrespect Donovan in the slightest. He's actually a guy that I would put on my MVP ballot today if I had one. Being that you get 5, you got to fill that thing out with 5 names. Donovan would definitely sneak his way on there right now. So this isn't shade to him at all. But James Harden played with Kevin Durant. He's played with guys who won the MVP award. The one time James was in the NBA Finals, it was coming off the bench with a team that had KD and Russell Westbrook on it. Like, we're not going to dismiss that. He was an MVP. He had another MVP teammate in Joel Embiid, and I mean, if you want to talk about what Joel hasn't accomplished in the postseason, well, you can say the same thing about Donovan. Donovan's never gotten to the conference finals in his career. Maybe this year will be the first time. That's what I want to focus on. The fit for this Cleveland team is phenomenal. They got off of a player in Darius Garland who physically is not able to be the player that he was last year. And even if he was, that player is still not better than James Harden is now. We're not talking about prime James Harden. We're talking about 2026 James Harden is still a very good player and a player that I think everyone thinks of him as the Rockets player who was the most heliocentric player in basketball. And they dismiss the fact that he's been one of the very best playmakers of this era. You know, look at what he's able to do to elevate bigs and what he's able to do to raise the floor. I mean, we can't just talk about the regular season, especially now when everyone wants to complain about certain teams not competing in the regular season and then just act like, oh, we're just waiting for a 10-game sample size in the playoffs to determine what these teams or these players or these great players are able to do. So Donovan and the Cavs, they have a great opportunity to do something they haven't gotten to do in these previous 2 or 3 years that Donovan's been in Cleveland. And Donovan knows what James is capable of because when the Utah Jazz were going up against the Houston Rockets and guarding James with some of the craziest defenses you've ever seen, you know, the Jazz never really had a chance in those series. So that's what I'll focus on. Like I don't want to discuss players in terms of the best ever sidekicks James has had. James has played with some legends. Donovan's not on that level, but maybe he might be on that level based off of the opportunity that those guys have this spring.
Yeah.
Excellent game of tennis between Doc and Law. Dwight Walton hit Law Murray with a question, please, sir.
What's going on, Law?
What's up,
With
man?
with Kawhi Leonard arguably being the best player in the association over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and then with the trades of Ivica Zubats and James Harden, and the coming of age of some of the young roster players on the Clippers, what is the course of action for Lawrence Frank, Ty Lue, and the organization going forward? Do they want to make the playoffs this year? Do they feel they can make a run? Or was this move more for the future? Obviously, it was more for the future, but what is the immediate course of action with, and again, I can't speak enough about the performance of Kawhi Leonard this All-Star Sunday. He was arguably the best player out there. I know Victor Wembanyama set the tone. I know that Anthony Edwards won the most valuable player for the games, but Kawhi Leonard, that 31 point in 12-minute performance, will go down in history as far as I'm concerned. What is the course of action for the Clippers going forward here?
I'm laughing because y'all still got that old Clippers jersey on Kawhi. Hey, Rick, you got to update your photo bank, bro. uh, you hit it right there. Like, I just want to remind people the Clippers don't own their first round pick, so they're or the tank. There's no incentive for them to do that. They have to win as many games. That's what they've always tried to do. They have the longest active streak of winning seasons. They last had a losing season in 2011, and so for that alone, whether you make the playoffs or not, I think they want to maintain that part of it. Uh, they are right now 10th in the West. They are neck and neck with the Blazers as far as that 9 and 10. And you look at the 5 teams that are bottom 5 in the West, either talent wise or because of the status of their record or both, they are extremely unlikely to get into that play-in tournament range. So the Clippers are as low as they would want to be, probably as low as they're going to be as of right now. They have the best record in the NBA since December 20th. That's when the Lakers came to visit, and the Clippers were 6-21, and the jokes were flying and the tension was high. And shoot, the Vince Zubac sprained his ankle in the first half of that game, and they wound up winning that game. And you know they've again they've won 20 games since December 20th. No team in the NBA can say that. So this team has continued to sustain, and it's all about Kawhi Leonard at this point as far as where the Clippers could go. The sidekick I just mentioned, Darius Garland, he isn't healthy yet, and the hope is that he will get healthy in the next couple weeks or so. I've been told to expect anything along that timeline as far as how long the Clippers would take to ensure that when Darius Garland gets back, he is back to stay, that he is not going to be dealing with another recurrence of his surgically repaired toe. But in the meantime, you have a really good head coach in Tyronn Lue. And I say he's a really good head coach because he's not going to get too high or too low. He's going to relate to his best players. He's going to communicate with guys. I think we've had some criticisms as far as Tyronn Lue's consistency of communication with certain players, perhaps certain players that are now retired from the NBA. But in terms of coaching the Clippers team that he has now, Tyronn Lue is fully in. I think everyone with that team, players, coaches, they are fully in to making the very most of this season while being understanding of the place that they're in. Like, you're not contenders. You're not a team that is going to be expected to make a deep run. You'll be happy if you get to 42 wins, if you get to have a 7-game series, and God forbid you get to advance. The conversation won't change for the Clippers until we have some conclusions. And those conclusions will include their regular season record, whether they survive the play-in tournament or not, and whether or not they can be competitive in a playoff series. But they're going to compete between now and the middle of April.
Well, the Clippers may play the Warriors, at which point I'm going to be wearing something red, white, and blue. I just love cheering against the Warriors now, Law. It's the Steve Kerr of it all, the way he treats his players. I think it's absolutely grotesque. So I'll be like, let's go Clippers, you know, be hollering at my guy Clipper Darrell. But you guys are going to be in the PIT, Law. There's no doubt about that. The teams below you want no part of that tournament. AM Pfeffert, is your turn with the great Law Murray.
Law, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I mean, to your point about like the conclusion of it all, because the Clippers are now a fascinating team. A lot of the moves have a lot of people scratching their heads. I'm curious, and I hope you can peel back the curtain and give us the answer. Whose agenda is running the team? Is it Ty Lue? Is it Kawhi Leonard with an eye on remaining there in the future? Is it even Steve Ballmer? Is it some other shadowy figure or figures we don't know who have something to say? And I hope you can shed some light on all of this, because I'm personally curious, like, whose agenda is the driving force behind the team now?
It's all collaborative, but Steve Ballmer's the chairman. Everyone defers to him. When Lawrence Frank talks about moves that he's making and the direction of the team, he always mentions Steve Ballmer as a source of support and a source of just where the franchise is going to want to be at. Like, we've heard for years that they're never going to tank, that they're always going to compete. If they have a team worthy of trying to win a championship, they're trying to win a championship. If they don't, then they're trying to have a winning record and make the most of things and reload until they get to a spot where they have the players that would suggest that they're going to win. Tyronn Lue is someone who has a great relationship with the owner. And so that relationship, it gives you stability, but it also fosters a sense of collaboration and understanding of each other. And I think that's really, it's a criticism of the Clippers when things don't go well. It certainly was a criticism of the Clippers when they were 6-21. But you can see it's kind of a credit to the Clippers. They are an organization committed to not making rash decisions in terms of blowing things up, firing people left and right. I think 80% of the league is about that. Maybe that's on the low end. It's probably closer to 90%. But the Clippers are like, look, they value stability. And I know there's a lot of fans that don't value stability. They value action. and they value being just able to be angry and heard and just do stuff and figure it out from there. And I've always looked at Steve Ballmer as the type of owner who look at the one time he changed front office and one time he changed head coaches during his tenure. Both times he appointed people who were already in the building. Lawrence Frank and Tyronn Lue. Both times it was the same dude who got replaced, and it was Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers came to the Clippers to run the whole organization from the front office as well as being the head coach. And it took 7 years, but he wound up losing both of those positions, but to people that were his assistant coaches. Doc Rivers still has a lot of imprint on this team. And whatever happens with Kawhi Leonard, that's going to be fascinating. And Kawhi has definitely been influential to where this team is. But this is no longer a team that is about surrounding Kawhi Leonard with players of his era. Like, those guys aren't there anymore. Even Kawhi had to acknowledge that. This is the first time Kawhi is playing on a Clippers team that doesn't have Paul George or James Harden on it. It's Darius Garland and a whole bunch of other dudes who have never been stars or have passed their prime and are in comfortable roles, not the kind of stars who are still expected to be treated like stars. And then you've got these young players who are trying to emerge. So I think that it all is going to revolve around who the chairman of the organization is, and that's Steve Ballmer.
Law, I want to go back to Harden for a minute. You've covered James for a long time, and obviously a reporter for the Clippers. You're around the team all the time. Did you sense any unrest, any chaos, any drama from James? Did you kind of see the train coming down the tracks? Did you smell anything with that? Or when the Harden trade stuff bubbled up before the deadline, did it take you a little bit by surprise?
It was surprising because I had talked to everybody in terms of stakeholders, in terms of what do y'all realistically want him to do? And mind you, the context here is that the Clippers were rolling, right? Like, I keep
Yes.
referring to that December 20th date because you're thinking about the fact that the Clippers are not just winning games, they're beating some good teams along the way. And they got two players who, when they're on the floor together, in Kawhi and James, they are killing teams. I think that last time I checked, and this isn't the team anymore, so I haven't checked in a minute, but I think those dudes were outscoring teams by 10 points per 100 possessions when they were on the floor together. If you look at the net ratings of every NBA team, you can see how powerful that is. Like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, if you have that for even 20 minutes of the game, that might be enough for you to survive a game no matter what happens in the other 28 minutes. Uh, the bottom line is, I keep telling people, James Harden doesn't have things happen to him. He makes things happen to you. And so that 6-21 start, how bad they were in November specifically, where they won only 2 games, and the 2 games that they won required a triple double and double overtime from Harden in Dallas, and then a weekend later for him to go off for 55 points in a matinee game front end of a back-to-back in Charlotte. That's what it took for the Clippers to win the only 2 games they won all November. All the work that they did to get to a point where they recovered in the standings somewhat, it still left them below 8. And James has never been in the play-in tournament. He is not trying to be in the play-in tournament. His legacy is not going to be determined by how often he makes the playoffs or how many points he's scoring in the regular season. The ironic thing is, while people try and clown James about that, James Harden knows that. All James Harden has left to do is to win a championship. And he's still playing at an extremely high level. There's not another player in the league. You can't pick 5 players who are better in isolation than James Harden is. And to also know that James is able to make players around him better as well. And so James found himself in a new situation, and the Clippers had a choice. They could fight it, or they could be real about it. Like, they signed James Harden to the contract they did, specifically because they know that they are in between eras and need to transition to the next era. Well, James Harden, look, when he's playing, he's trying to win a championship. When he's not playing, he wants to make sure he's got the bag secured. The most perilous situation James Harden has been in contractually was when he had to opt into the final year of his contract with the Philadelphia 76ers, thinking that he had somewhere to go. And he identified where he needed to go since he couldn't go to Houston, but it required the Sixers to trade him to the LA Clippers. And that was a very long, drawn out process that got dudes fined and was humiliating and embarrassing for multiple parties. And even for the Clippers, by the time they made the trade, it was an adjustment period that put them in a bit of a deficit in the standings, and then they recovered from it. James Harden is the one who was like, look, I see a situation. This is what we're presenting. Y'all figure it out. The Clippers understood what that meant for them, and the Cavaliers, they're in the driver's seat. So it was surprising, but the more you look back on it, it's not like it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I love the trade for the Clippers. Personally, I thought they won that trade. You're going from 36 to 26, all-star to all-star. Granted, Hall of Famer to probably non-Hall of Famer. Maybe Garland is a Hall of Famer. I don't know. Harden for sure is. But you go from 36 to 26. I thought that was a great trade for the LA Clippers. Guys, we have, I don't know, about 5 minutes left with Law. Raise your hand if you have a question here. Doc or Dwight or AM. Doc raised it first. Dr. X, hit Law.
Yeah. Hey, so Law, did you see the interview with Carmelo Anthony and CP3?
I've seen it.
Okay.
My phone's blowing up about it.
Of course. Any thoughts? Like, did you know everything that CP3 said in response to the questions that were asked?
You know what's funny about that interview is Chris Paul was on the Houston Rockets with when Carmelo Anthony had his little trial there. And I think a lot of people are, they'll forget that part of things. Carmelo was dismissed by the Knicks. Just kind of like him and Phil Jackson didn't see eye to eye. That Knicks team had one good year in terms of playoff success, and they never built on it. And by the time Carmelo was done in New York, like they were one of the worst teams in the NBA. So he goes to Oklahoma City. First thing Carmelo does, media day, it's like, hey, P, they saying I should come off the bench. And you saw how that worked out. Like, that was Paul George's first year there out of two, and Russ was, I believe, the reigning MVP. Like, that OKC team didn't win a playoff series. I think they might have won one playoff game, two playoff games, period, right? And so, Melo winds up having to get to his next spot. And that next spot turned out to be Houston, and he comes off the bench. And 10 games in, I mean, the Rockets did the same thing to Melo, and Melo was closer to his prime that the Clippers basically did to Chris. Like, there is a sense of, how can I say it, a relatability there between those two guys, but it's also a sense of like, those two guys are going to tell their story based off of their perspective on how things went. And I hate it for Chris. Like, I was planning on covering Chris Paul this whole season, and it not just being me covering a basketball player, but at least passively covering a player who every spot that he was going to go to, you would acknowledge that it might be the last time he would play in this spot, knowing that over the course of a 20-year career that he had moments or had competition with certain personnel that was going to bring you an opportunity to tell a story. Like, I wanted to learn from him this year. Like, that was a big part of my planning to cover the LA Clippers this season. And just like everything that happened to Chris, that went sideways. My storytelling, my plan went out the window. It's not what Chris would have wanted. Like, I think Chris Paul also thought he was joining a good team. And November happens the way it did. And all of a sudden, you're not a good team anymore. Those tensions, those conflicts, they hit a lot harder and sharper when certain expectations aren't made. You have expectations of how you think you're treated, but how you think you're going to perform on the basketball floor, how you think you're going to just be able to get through a season. And so I feel bad for how it went down and the fact that it went down at all. But I think we also have to just recognize that, Chris is always going to have his perspective on things, and the Clippers clearly haven't wanted to discuss as much about it because for the Clippers, this wasn't about it's Chris Paul. This was about we've been through this with so many veteran point guards who, for one reason or another, didn't click. It wasn't the right fit, and it is what it is. For the Clippers, it's relatively insignificant. For Chris, it's the last chapter of a storied career that is not ideal in terms of how it ended.
No, I mean, I don't like how the league does a lot of these older players. And the Carmelo Anthony thing, I feel like he had more meat left on that chicken bone than Chris Paul did this year. When the league kind of said to Carmelo, "Nah, we're good." Remember, I think Portland was his last team, 6th man of the year candidate.
He wound up joining Portland the next year, the 1920 season, stuck with him another year, and then he went to the Lakers. And again, a lot of people compared this Clippers team to that Carmelo Lakers team, but in a backhanded way, in a way to say, oh, like this team is going to suck because they're old and have a bunch of names on it. No, that Lakers team sucked because it was haphazardly put together and they never recovered. Whereas this Clippers team has recovered. That's the thing about it. Imagine what the narrative would be today surrounding Chris Paul's exodus from the NBA if the Clippers were still winning less than a quarter of their games. The Clippers, it's not going to happen because of the teams that they're going to face, the logistics, but there's a chance that the Clippers could have a winning record at the end of this weekend after starting 6-21. And that is inconvenient for a lot of people's narratives. It's the same thing with how James Harden left the team via trade. It's a lot easier to say, oh man, the Clippers, they punted on their season. But you weren't saying that in December. You were saying that the Clippers needed to blow it up in December, that they needed to sell out everybody. And that's the thing. What Chris Paul did was he had a talk with his homie. And if we have a talk with our homies, sometimes there's accountability and relatability, but the realism kind of gets in the gray area. We can acknowledge that. Chris is always going to be able to tell his story and have his side of things. But the context of how those conversations happen is really interesting to see what goalposts move and which ones stay still in the wind and the storm.
Well, Law, for LeBron James, for a lot of people, those goalposts are always moving, man. But we can't fix everybody, can we, Law? But, Law, we super appreciate you, man. Glad you are removed from All-Star Weekend, and now you turn the page, and you got your life back, and everything's cool. And we really appreciate your time, man. And we'll talk with you really soon, okay, Law? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Law. Good to see you.
Law Murray. So I kind of thought that we have Vinnie Del Negro coming up in just a couple of minutes here. I kind of thought his answer to my question about, did the Harden thing kind of take you by surprise? So, I mean, if there was some stuff brewing, Law would have known, right? So it's interesting, Dwight and Doc and AM, like LA's rolling, and then all of a sudden, slam on the brakes, we're trading James Harden. And so we weren't the only ones surprised, Dwight. Our guy Law was surprised as well.
Okay. Cat got your tongue, Dwight? You just got a cat?
No. Rick, could you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
I think he just ordered some KFC, Rick. He just ordered some KFC.
No.
Hey, I was told the spicy wings are incredible. Could you
Dwight, order me some too, will you?
Yes.
Send some to the studio while you're at it.
All right, so we go from door dashing KFC to welcoming on a legend of the game. Vinnie Del Negro is with us here on the X-Rated Sports Network and Beyond the Surface. We're going to bring him on right about now. Oh, Vinny's
There
getting
he
the
is.
lighting going. And he's closing the shades. How you doing, Vinny?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Very
We're
good,
doing
thank
great.
Amazing.
So
Very well.
let me introduce the crew. Upper right, it is Dr. Phil McDonald. He's a sports medicine radiologist. He's the founder and creator of this sports network. Below you is Dwight Walton, played with the Canadian national team, played overseas for many, many years, played in the 1988 Seoul Olympics. A.M. Pfeffer, lower right, is a businessman in LA. He's an author and a great sports analyst as well. So this is the crew, Vinny. We're hanging out, man.
Why would they be hanging out with us? They sound way too smart for me and you, Rick.
I know. But so Vinny, let's get into this, man. I want to. You're doing research for this, Vinny. I found it. I was like, whoa, okay, because I'm looking at your basketballreference.com and I see Sacramento, right, where you started your career, and of course, I immediately thought of our guy Reggie Theus. Oh, did he play with Reggie? No, you didn't play with Reggie. But then I looked and I saw, and I knew this, but had forgotten it. Bill Russell was an executive with the Sacramento Kings your rookie year and your second year. What was that like? What was the best piece of advice or wisdom that you got from the late, great Bill Russell?
Well, it's an interesting story. I had gone to the Portsmouth Invitational and played, and I actually sat and talked to Red Auerbach for a while because I grew up in Springfield and obviously grew up with the Celtics, and he was down there looking at players. And I thought I actually was going to go probably to the Celtics after talking to him. And the Kings had the pick, I think, right after the Celtics. And I ended up getting drafted. And my dad, who was a great basketball player, his idol was Bill Russell. So I get drafted by the Sacramento Kings, and the first NBA call I get is actually from Bill Russell. So that made my dad really excited. It made me really excited on draft day. And Bill Russell could not have been nicer to me my rookie year in Sacramento. Everything I needed, sitting down and talking to me. We became friends. We played some golf later on in life. Just an amazing, obviously the history of basketball is a big part of it is because of Bill Russell. So having that opportunity, making my dad that happy, being a Celtics fan and being drafted by Bill was fantastic. And really then his friendship afterward was always very special to me.
That is incredible. I love the relationships that players and coaches and execs like you guys form. And it's not always friendships, right? Sometimes it's just acquaintances and that kind of thing. But when it becomes real like that, especially with Bill Russell, that is very, very cool. Let's go to Dr. X with a question for the great Vinnie Del Negro. Dr. X, what you got?
Hey, Vinny, appreciate you being on our show. Number one, I saw you're from Springfield, Massachusetts, so all I could think was Celtics. So what's your view on the Celtics in terms of whether or not Jason Tatum should come back this year, and what you think their chances are in terms of championship window going forward for the next few years?
Well, first, I think the Celtics have done a heck of a job this year being able, kind of losing some very high quality players like a Drew Holiday, Porzingis, but, bringing in Marcus Smart. But I think, Joe has done a great job there with this team. I think obviously Jaylen Brown is an incredible player and has pretty much led them. Derek White is as good as there is, kind of a two-way player. So I think you have to give the Celtics a lot of credit by now the East isn't nearly as tough as the West. So let's be honest with that. But at the end of the day, the games come, you have to play them, and your record is what your record is. So I think the Celtics have done a fantastic job. Their window is still very big, in my opinion. I mean, Jalen and Tatum, you have those two guys. Do I think they should bring back Tatum? I don't know where he's at. I haven't watched him in terms of 5-on-5, but I know players I've coached, players I played with, players I've seen come back from those Achilles, and they're very, very difficult. It usually takes an extra year. They think they can come back, but really to get back at a high level. So I would personally be very cautious because I think if Tatum gets healthy, they'll add some players in the offseason. They'll come back next year, and the Celtics will be in the mix for several years to come with that young nucleus of players. So cautious is good, but you don't want to waste a year either. So I think they'll be much smarter than me in terms of what they know and how Jason feels and what the doctors are saying.
Thank you.
Come on, Tatum, let's go. I'm not even a Celtics fan, but Tatum coming back for the Celtics. They just got Vucevic. Oh, that would really, really ramp up the excitement. And to me, add another core contender. Right now, I got Boston as a fringe contender. But with Tatum, I think they become a core contender. It's a real pivot point for our league moving forward. The great Vinnie Del Negro hanging out with us on Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. And Dwight Walton, go ahead.
Coach, I want to thank you for joining us, first of all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Listen, we're talking about the NBA right now, and I think that we've had some great individual performances this season, but I think injuries have been the major story this year. Now, that being said, I think we all have the Thunder as being the favorite to win the NBA championship this season. But because of the injury factor, and we're coming down the home stretch now of the season, do you think the NBA is open for anybody to win the championship? Or should the Thunder still be the overwhelming favorites?
Well, it's a great question. It's a tough one to answer. What I will say is if you look historically, the injuries now are much different. You're seeing a lot of calf injuries. You're seeing a lot of hamstring injuries. You're seeing a lot of groin injuries, okay? Now, the major injuries are the major injuries. You've had them in the past and now. But the speed of the game has changed the complexion of injuries. So it's not as physical, but you still have to run up and down the court, and they're running up and down the court at a different pace than when I played, for example. But it's not nearly as physical. So it's a give and take. Injuries have had an impact on some of the major players. Oklahoma City, you can be the greatest coach in the world, and all of us think we are, and the smartest people, but at the end of the day, you better have a lot of talent. And Oklahoma City has a lot of depth. They have a lot of talent. But if you don't have SGA leading the way, it'll be tough for them to repeat, or anybody. I think Denver's a little bit of a sleeper. Jokic has had his injuries, but I think they're deeper. The younger players have improved. They seem to have a nice balance. Murray makes the All-Star team, but they have to get Gordon healthy. He's had some injuries. So I think they're all dealing with it. But the West is going to be, that's going to be a dogfight. Phoenix, where I live, Jalen Green hasn't played. He played one game. He had 29 points. Devin Booker's had some injuries. Brooks is dealing with some of the technicals. But if Phoenix gets Jalen Green back healthy and Booker's healthy, they can score the ball. They play hard. I think their coach, Otto, has done a great job in terms of getting them to play more physical. So Houston with their length, size, and you got to deal with Durant. That's not going to be fun for anybody. So I think it's wide open. I think if Oklahoma City comes back healthy and they got on a roll at the end of the season, being the champs, having home court, they'll be the favorite. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of teams. I think the Knicks have to figure it out and stay healthy with Brunson and get back on a little bit of a roll. They had a big lull. So I think it's wide open per se. I don't think you could say one team's dominant just because of the injuries. But I think Oklahoma City and Denver right now, just because of SGA and Jokic, you'd have to say in a series, beating those two guys 4 times is going to be a task.
Not everybody thinks OKC's going to win it all. Me and Doc got the New York Knicks winning it all. He, of course, is a super fan. I'm just an analyst. I think the Knicks are going to win the championship this year. A.M. Pfeffer, what you got for the great Vinnie Del Negro?
Yeah, I'm so glad we brought up the Knicks. Thank you, Rick. Vinny, great to meet you. Thank you for being here. Let's set the stage, right? They have gotten waxed the first 2 games against Detroit. Now tonight, one of the biggest games of the year, the Knicks are 4.5-point favorites, home at the Garden. Who do you see if these two in the playoffs? Who takes down the other?
Okay.
Am I back?
Can you hear me now? I lost you there.
Who do we got? Oh yeah, Vinny, I'm here. This is Ian. Can you hear me?
I got you now. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. It doesn't often rain in Los Angeles, but when it does, all hell breaks loose, apparently. So, Well, thank you. I don't know how much of that you heard, but I was setting the stage, obviously, for tonight's incredible matchup between the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons at the Garden, of course. But I was curious. I mean, bringing it back to the East for a second, Rick's got the Knicks winning it all. Doc's got the Knicks winning it all. In a series between the Knicks and the Pistons, if that's what it comes to in the playoffs, who do you see coming out on top?
That's tough. I mean, the Pistons have had a phenomenal year. Coach Bickerstaff's done a great job. Mike Brown is kind of weathering the storm with the ups and downs of the season and Brunson being injured. Health will be a factor. Home court will be a factor. Winning in New York, we know, is not easy at times. Brunson, I'm a huge fan of Rick, just in terms of what he does with his body and his spacing and his improvement with his shot fakes and where he gets to his spots. He's pretty awesome and amazing at that. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that would be a toss-up series. I think Brunson's so good at the end of games, but I'll tell you, Cunningham is a phenomenal, tough player with size. He gets to his spots. They're physical up front, Detroit. You know, Cat Moore plays kind of on the perimeter, kind of pick and pop. Greater spaces the floor. So I just think it would be a go-to series, a touch series, but they both have been very good. Detroit has been very consistent, physical, and gotten some good leadership from their star player.
Indeed, they have. Player, coach, and executive Vinnie Del Negro hanging out with us on Beyond the Surface. Vinnie, I'll ask you a couple of questions here, one at a time. Did you ever witness David Robinson lose his cool and get really, really angry? Because we all know him as stoic and the 1,000-watt smile and always just fills the room with love and light and happiness. Did you ever see him just really, really mad?
Oh, his personality is a total charade. I'm kidding. David's the best. I'm kidding. David's the best. I mean, he used to take me to the Naval Academy. We'd have lunch there. And David, we played for years and Avery and Shaw stuff. So David's just a phenomenal guy, but David's as competitive as they come. He just doesn't show it all the time. He's fiery and whatever. And just a phenomenal athlete, a phenomenal player, pretty much did it all in his career. But, the stats speak for himself, what he accomplished. But, with guys like David, you can kind of play average and he can just dominate the fourth quarter and you end up winning 60 games. David was that good of an athlete. I mean, he'd go and do whatever he had to do. If you want him to score, he'd score. He's block shots. He's going to protect the rim. Obviously, back then the tempos were different, so it was more load up and physical play, and really force him into David, force the help into your shot blockers, and then we were off to the races running. So, David made my career, made a lot of guys' careers, made us all look a lot better. When you got those superstar guys, they change a lot.
Well, you can see right there, it's probably a little ball fake, Ewing up in the air, ball on the floor. We're going to the rack, probably for a two-handed flusher. Yeah, you got Patrick out of position right there for sure. All right, Vinny, so you were a fantastic shooter, one of the best in the league. I looked up some stats, man. Vinny's, and again, Vinny had a reputation around the league as a great shooter. But it was in, late 80s and 90s. Okay, the three ball wasn't really a thing yet, right? Vinny's guys, check this out. Okay, we got Boston taking 63s a game or whatever. Ant Edwards averaged 10 3 attempts per game last year. Vinnie Del Negro's best 3-point year was 94-95. He averaged 0.9 threes made on 2.2 attempts for 41%. Okay, think about that. He would be taking 8, 9, 10 threes right now. And he was taking 2.2 per game. So Vinny, give me in no particular order here, and you can give me 4 or 6, but the question is 5. You're the top 5 shooters that you went against when you played.
Wow, that I went against. Larry Bird, Chris, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, Del Curry,
Yeah.
I'll give you another one. Mark Price,
Ooh.
Jeff Hornacek.
Yeah.
And it depends. Best shooter. I mean, it depends from three you're talking about, or just pure shooting. I mean, there was so many guys. Ricky Pierce from about 18 in, that was automatic. Man, I could keep
Dale
going. Let me
Ellis?
think. Dale Ellis for
Yeah.
sure. I played with Dell. Chuck Person had crazy
Yep.
range in San Antonio. I mean, he could shoot it from half court. I mean, they're back in the Eddie Johnson could really shoot it.
Gotta get him in there. Yep.
Man, I have to think, but I mean, I just off the Rolando
Del
Blackman, Del Curry, Rolando
said
Blackman
him.
in Dallas. You know, any of the guys I just mentioned, it's kind of like if they were open and they missed, you know, you were shocked. You know what I mean? That was the thing back in my era. Like if you're open, you know, in the three ball, like you said, I mean, when you're coming down the court and you have a slower game and you have David Robinson and Coach Popovich, the ball's going to Dave. You know, the ball's going to Dave, and then you're working off the double team or the triple team or whatever. You know, and you have a fast break, a 2-on-1, a 3. You're not running to the 3. You're getting the layup. If you don't have the layup, you're pulling it back out. You're running your sets. I remember one time we were in the locker room and we had maybe lost a game or two, and Moses Malone was on our team, and everyone said a few things, and Mo didn't talk a lot, but when he did, he was kind of like E.F. Hutton. Everybody listened.
Yeah, right.
And you say the story. Let me tell you guys something. He goes, when I played, I was the chief, and all you other guys were little Indians. And he goes, the ball was coming to Mo. He goes, David's the chief, and everybody else in here is a bunch of Indians. So if we're struggling and we come down, the ball better go to David because David's the chief. Just like when I was, it was the best. And I think we won about 24 of the next 26 games after he said it. I mean, it was just so many memories, so many relationships in those locker rooms with so many great players and unique personalities and how you blend them all together. And then when I got into coaching, trying to make all that work with younger players and older players, and it's just kind of putting that puzzle together. So I've been very fortunate to play with, had great coaches, great mentors, great players, played with, coached, and have learned a lot. So guys like Moses Malone, rest in peace. He was a catalyst because when he spoke, you listened.
Well, Vinny, I asked you for 5. You gave us at least 10. I wrote down Blackman.
I could give you another 10 probably for sure.
I know you could. Bird, Mullen, Miller, Allen, Curry, the dad, Price, Hornacek in person. It's a phenomenal list. Doc, Dwight, or AM, raise a hand. Dwight, you go first, man.
Coach, you spoke about the pace of the game earlier, and I have this conversation or this discussion with a lot of my old school friends talking about how there's no defense in today's NBA. I'm of that old school era, but I also believe that this is the most skilled that the NBA has ever been. And because of the ability for most of the NBA players today to be able to dribble, pass, and shoot, including the bigs now, they have to be able to close out to the 3-point line and defend, which I think, and because of the lack of post play today, with the exception of a few players, the floor is open. Are you of the mindset that the players aren't playing defense today? Or is it because the skill set is so high and because of the ability of all the players now to be able to dribble, pass, and shoot, that it's a lot more difficult to play defense today as opposed to the players not defending today?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think the biggest thing is you have to evolve, and the game evolves because of the rules. And when I played, you could hand check, you could hit. It was more physical. It was a slower game. The analytics part of the game is now so prevalent. And also, you have to have big guys that can switch, pick and roll take away the three, but not get blown by. Because when they get blown by, they either give up a layup, or if help comes, now they're giving up a corner three, which no coach wants to give up because it's a pretty easy shot. So the pace of play, it's much easier to get your statistics now because there's so many more shots, which means there's so many more assists, more rebounds. But that's not the player's fault. That's the rules. So, you have to evolve with the rules. I think there's incredible players, incredible skill sets now, and you can't blame the players. The coaches are like, don't foul, take the ball out. They might score a two, make them take a contested two. Let's get down, get our spots in the first 7 seconds of the shot clock. And if you have an open three, let's take it and play the percentages. And sometimes I think the game looks a little ruffled and out of sorts, but they're just going off statistics and analytics. I think in any era, the great players would be able to play in any era. The physicality back when I played changed the complexion of the game tremendously, and they've gotten away with that. Not that there's not some physical hard fouls, but the penalty is so severe now that it makes it difficult to really be too physical and too aggressive, especially with your star players. So you see star players playing more with 3 or 4 fouls. You see players, giving up easier shots to play with pace because that's what the coach wants. So I think it's kind of a balancing act, and it really depends on, how good of a three-point shooting team you are and what type of star player you have on your team that you want to make sure gets the quality shots in the fourth quarter when the game is tight. So I think the game evolves. There's so many international players now that are some of the best players in the world. They played a certain style over there that was probably more physical than the NBA. So now when they have space and freedom and they're skilled, obviously they can do some fantastic things. And what do fans want to see? They want to see spectacular plays. They want to see guys running up and down, throwing alley-oops, dunking, step back threes, making spectacular passes, and having space allows you to do that more consistently.
Dr. X, going in here with the last question for Vinnie Del Negro, please.
Hey, Vinny. So I know you played around the time with Michael Jordan, but I also know there was another player called Mitch Richmond. How wide was the gap in terms of talent with playing against a player like Mitch and playing against a player like Michael Jordan?
Well, people talk about, who's but there's nobody, and I played against them all except for Dr. J, and I played against them, and then I coached against all the great ones in the last 30 years. There's nobody like Michael Jordan. As far as just everything. I mean, he could just do it all. I mean, defense, offense, competitive, score, flow, anything. And then forget about the athleticism. The biggest thing and the advantage people don't talk about that Michael had is the size of his hands. He could take it off the dribble, just one hand, and go right over the top. He didn't have to gather himself. He could go off one leg, 2 leg. It didn't matter. But, they always talk a lot. LeBron's, had the greatest career of all time. But there's no one I put ahead of Michael. You can look at Wilt's stats. You can look at, and then probably the other player for me would be, Kobe Bryant, and watching what he did, Michael and Kobe and LeBron's kind of physicality and people just bouncing off them, bigger, stronger. You'd put a guy 20 pounds heavier on any of them. It doesn't matter. They're going to move him around. LeBron's just a freight train. Kobe, mimicked Michael per se with footwork and just competitive nature and how they went about it. Their personalities were much different, but just all phenomenal players. As far as Mitch Richmond, could score with the best of them. Strong, great three-point shooter. I'd put him up there as well. They in Sacramento, we'd play against him a lot. Came around a screen at the elbow. He pump faked. I jumped for it. He went up. He broke my rib. It was not fun.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
Yep. I was out for about 5 weeks. Yep. Smacked it. But I shouldn't have jumped. It was my fault. So, but Mitch could take you in the post. He could take you outside. He was strong. Mitch was, he was a horse, man. He was the Rock. He was a horse. A big fan of Mitch Richmond, great player.
Thank you.
Yeah, The Rock. It's a great nickname, too. Vinny, cannot thank you enough for joining us here.
That's
Been a
it?
long time, my friend.
That's
Thank you for.
I got some more questions, though, Rick.
Okay,
I got
Doc, go ahead.
question too.
Sorry.
Hold on, Dwight, because you have like a three. Dwight usually gets 3-part questions, so I want to spare Vinny from that. I'm joking, Dwight, but no. Any stories about Dennis Rodman? And was he? I'm not sure if you guys overlapped when you were in San Antonio.
How long of a show do we have? I mean, you can write a book.
Give me the best one.
I sat next to Dennis on the plane, and the flight attendants would always run out of pillows because every flight his hair color was different, and the dye would get on the pillows. So about halfway through the year, we didn't have any more pillows.
Oh my gosh!
He was a monster. I mean, Dennis, we all know, is different. He really didn't fit the Spurs personality, although, it was just, but if I had to play a game, you talk about somebody competitive that could guard and rebound and get under people's skin and start a fast break, he'd get it and take a couple dribbles and kick it up. And, myself, Avery Johnson, Sean Elliott, and David, the 2 years we played with Dennis, had the best statistics of our career. We won, I think we won 62 games or 64 games each year, something like that. Dennis missed the first 9 or 10 games of 1 year because he was driving a motorcycle and separated his shoulder.
I remember that.
If we used to play a lot of 3-on-3 in practice without any dribbles and stuff because Coach Popovich, body and ball movement and backdoors and screens and flares and just continual movement. And whenever we played 3-on-3, I always made sure I was on Dennis's team because we never lost. Because one of the first times I played with Dennis, I took a shot and I missed it, and he got the rebound, and he had a layup. And he could have just went up and dunked it, laid it in, right? So I said, Dennis, D, just lay it in. And he looked at me and he goes, V, I get paid to rebound, you get paid to shoot. When I rebound it, I'm throwing it to you and shooting it. I said, no problem, just keep rebounding. He knew the game. He acted like he wasn't paying attention. He never missed a defensive assignment. He always knew the offense. He'd come out of a timeout after he tied his sneakers, and he'd ask me or Avery, what are we doing? We tell him. He never missed it. He understood the game, and he could get under guys' skin, rebounding, physical. He was a beast, man. His energy was infectious and really incredible.
Thank you.
Hey, Doc,
Coach,
is it Dwight's turn now?
Yeah, he can. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dwight.
Coach, you see a lot of the guards today in screen roll action incorporate the snake dribble, and then they keep their defenders in jail once they get in the paint. You mentioned his name earlier about one of the best shooters you played against during your career. Talk about Mark Price. I believe the genesis of the snake dribble and keeping the player in jail started with Mark Price. Could you give the audience out there how great of a player he was and how he was problematic in those Bulls series against Michael Jordan?
I don't think Mark gets enough credit. I mean, Mark was probably, if I had to think, he was probably the best split the pick and roll guy there was. And the reason is because the big had to jump out so far, because if you didn't jump out and he turned the corner at all, he had a quick release and he had great range. And you couldn't foul him. So you were always trailing him because you had, if the big had a release, and the big had a release because Brad Daugherty and Larry Nance and Craig Elo could shoot it, and they had a squad. I mean, they had a squad. So Ron Harper was on that team. So it's like you got a lot of attention here, but all of a sudden you put 2 or 3 guys there, and Mark could see the floor, and now you're chasing on closeouts, and they were really, they were a tough team. But Price was great in the transition, great in the split and the pick and roll. amazing shooter, one of the best free throw shooters of all time. But I think he wasn't that big, so he could get low and split it. And then it was kind of like, he wasn't going to go over guys, so he had to perfect it. Another guy that, in that kind of realm, he was younger, obviously, and he came off the bench when I played and stuff for Dallas and then Phoenix, that kind of perfected it was Steve Nash. When I was in the front office and things here, Steve, amazing shooter. If you'd said, Steve, go score 40 points, he'd score 40 assists, whatever you want to do. But he kept his dribble alive. He could use his body. He had floaters and things. So, Stockton was like that. I mean, Stockton was amazing in the pick and roll. Obviously, you knew Stockton was going right. You forced him left, but he always got right, so you couldn't figure that out. But obviously, when Carmelone's setting a screen on you, that's a problem. And, Stockton was a magician with the ball. Kevin Johnson in Phoenix, an explosive offensive player. He'd have you isolated on the right wing with his pull-up. I mean, there's so many guys. And, I could list a million guys, and they all have their unique skill sets. But Mark Price, fantastic player.
Vinny, I got to check are we okay to let Vinny go, AM? Do you have a question?
No.
I'm always like,
I think AM asked a question.
Yeah, Vinny, we keep you here. I mean, we've been talking about it so much on the show. Love to hear your thoughts, bringing it back to today's game. Tanking, big problem. Third of the league is looking to get in on the top 5 or 6 picks, especially in this draft. I mean, what do you think? What do you do to stop the tanking? Where are you at with this?
It's kind of a difficult dilemma. I mean, the top 3 kids in the draft are special players for sure. So, you get judged in the NBA by wins and losses, and you better have a lot of talent to win in this league because there's a ton of talent. So, I think it is a little bit of a problem. Sitting guys, and they're trying to, do all this stuff where guys have to play so many games to make all NBA. I think if they had an answer, it would have already come out. I think they're going to probably have to put some, and I hate to do this, but some type of fine structure in place. If they have if players are sitting out without cause, or coaches aren't, coaching to win the games, I mean, it's a problem, but it also is the integrity of the game, but it's a catch-22 because teams also know that if they're not in the mix, the only way they're going to get in the mix is by getting talent, and talent is always on the high end. Now, that doesn't say, you look traditionally, every organization has missed in the draft, and they've taken guys before, guys that have dropped that have been much better players and Hall of Fame players. So my suggestion would be all along is make sure you spend a lot of your time on getting a lot of people that can evaluate talent that fits your standard and your organization that you build around your star players to fit that piece of the puzzle. And that's hard because the first 3 players are cornerstone players that really can elevate a franchise. So I think it's a dilemma. It's been going on per se, I guess, for a long time, and they haven't come up with an answer. They're trying to come up with an all-star game answer. And that's part of it. The game continues to evolve. The rules change, but the games are scheduled and they keep coming at you. So that's a tough one.
Coach, this is not a question, Coach, but you think a heavy fine would be one of the possible solutions for the tanking dilemma that the NBA is going through right now. But there's a couple of general managers, anonymously, obviously, who've said because of this summer's draft, they would write a blank check and pay whatever fine it is just to ensure they get that choice. So, I mean, again, we can come up with solutions after solution, but when you've got GMs saying that and have the backing of organizations, taking away draft picks, fining, what do you think ultimately could be the solution? I mean, you said fines, but is there any other way?
I think it would have to be a mixture of things. I think it would have to be so detrimental that you'd just be scared to do it. From taking draft picks away by not being able to keep maybe one of your top players. You'd have to move them by fines. I think you would have to put in a few things to make it so detrimental that teams are like, we just can't afford to do it. And if the ping pong ball lands in our lap, then we're good. And if it doesn't, we don't really have much of a future to sell to our fans. But then you don't want to do that because then it hurts the fan base and the league. So I'm not smart enough to know that answer. I know there's been a lot of things thrown on the wall. And believe me, if the league had any type of answer to it, it would have been implemented a long time ago. Because they don't want to hurt franchises, but they have to make sure the product that fans are watching is completely, competitive, and the integrity of the game is preserved, which is the most important thing.
And that's unfortunately kind of spiraling a little bit right now. Oh, Vinny, it just drives me nuts. All these guys, they should be playing. They're not playing. Look, I get it. I get why you tank. I get the benefits of tanking. But you brought up the catch-22. There's got to be a better way. You think about the NFL. Fans around the NFL want their teams to tank all the time. If you're a Browns fan or a Jets fan, and your team is 3-12 or whatever, they want you to lose out and get a higher draft pick. And do they ever tank? No. Remember Doug Peterson tanked. Eagles coach at the time. I think they were playing Washington and pulled guys and tanked. And they fired him. The team fired him for that. Okay. So they didn't even, the team was like, Jeff Lurie was like, "No, Roger Goodell, you don't need to do anything. I got this. We just whacked him. Okay. We're good here." But Vinny, really, really appreciate your time. Would love
Rick,
to catch
Rick,
up.
I would say something. I would say something on that. The NFL's contract structure is much different than the NBA. So a lot of the football guys, okay, they have big bonuses built into their contracts. So they want to play and they have to play. I need another interception. I need another sack. I need another touch. I need another, I need to catch 50 balls this season and I got 47. Okay.
Right.
And I get $1 million bonus, or my next year, my contract's guaranteed, or whatever it might be. So that's a thought where you incentivize bonus wise or contract wise in the NBA. But then you're talking about the guaranteed money in the NBA is so special. There's no way they're going to get that through the collective bargaining agreement, or should they? But maybe there's some other incentives where, hey, I want to play tonight, coach. Well, we want a higher draft pick. You got to sprain down because you could play, but sit down. No, I'm going to play tonight because I got to get 20 because I need to score 1,500 points or average whatever. And so, and I hate to do it that way. There's no real clear-cut answer, but it's not always kind of apples to apples in terms of contract because the NBA's contract structure is second to none.
But so glad you brought it back here because we've been having that conversation about, do you incentivize or do you penalize, right? Or is it a mixture of both? I mean, obviously, we're not going to figure anything out here, and we're not going to come to the actual conclusion, but it's worth the discussion, worth the debate, and so glad you brought it in that direction.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys saw this around Super Bowl time. I saw it on Instagram. It was a clip of Rob Gronkowski with Tampa with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And he went up to him and he said, Tom, I need one more catch for $1 million bonus. And then afterward, and then Brady threw it to him and he got the bonus. And then he was like, with a defensive player, he's like, "You got $1 million? Oh, you got it." It was just like, so Vinny, to your point, so they don't have that in the NBA. So they're not like, yo, I got to hit the 2,000 point threshold or the, whatever that case may be.
The other thing would be if you win 30 games, each player gets a bonus of X that doesn't go on the cap. If your team wins 40 games, you get a bigger bonus. If your team wins 50, okay. If your team wins 60, so now the guys in the locker room like, shit, I ain't sitting out. I'm gonna go get that 100 grand or 200, whatever it is, and it doesn't go on the cap. But now who's paying for that? How do you figure that out? But there's got to be 3 or 4 things. I don't just think it's one thing you can pigeonhole a team or a player or anybody into. But if there's a bunch of them, yeah, owners will write a big check to go get a high pick. But if they're going to lose a lot and now the players are like, we're not doing that, there has to be a balance. I don't know what it is. The league has thought about it a long time, but maybe a balance like that.
So Coach, I'm sort of in that realm, and these guys, they've heard my solution. What I said was not so much. I get it. But how about this? You don't get rid of the lottery per se, but how about the incentivized part of this? The team with the worst record automatically gets the number 1 pick. So it forces teams to have to win to get the number 1 pick. So you say you have incentives in your contract individually, or if you win 30, 40, or 50 games, how about you just simply reward the best team with the best record, if you understand what I'm saying.
I think what would happen there is I think at the trade deadline, teams would move players and absorb draft picks, and then they would say, I'll give you 3 first-round draft picks and 2 seconds to get your 3rd pick in the draft, which they would do anyway. So now you get if that happens, now the 3rd pick in the draft, like this year's, are going to be a really good player that you're going to add to already a really good team. But then in 3 years, they got to worry about extensions and flexibility on cap because you can't keep all these players. It just the numbers don't work if you have 3 max guys. So that's why the teams that have the assets can mix and match and still be good for a long time because their young core players are young and under contract. So, but yeah, I mean, there's things like that, but I think there's 3 or 4 things that you have to do that the organizations are like, it just doesn't make sense for us to do that because it's not right to the players and everything else.
That's fair.
Well, I guess we can cap this conversation with this. The NBA and the new collective bargaining agreement, they set up the first apron and the second apron, and they're gigantic buzzkills, and pretty much every team in the league is complying with them. And you know what? It's stringent. It's uncomfortable. It's radical. You can no longer go Joe Lake up on it and just spend and win championships. And so apply that to the tanking issue. I think if you just start banging on teams and taking first-round picks away, tanking's going to go away. And Vinny, I agree with you that you probably have to attack it from different layers. But ultimately, unless or until you start taking away draft picks, these teams are not going to change their behavior. They're not. And I think currently, Vinny, they're laughing at Adam Silver. I saw they fined Indiana $100,000 for the Pascal Siakam participation policy violation or whatever it was. 100,000. 100,000. I mean, Mark Cuban was laughing at the $750,000 fine he got for tanking for Derek Lively. Like you said, they'll stroke a check and just laugh at Adam Silver and keep it moving. But Vinny, you got a tea time coming up here. When are you hitting them again?
No, I was just going to say, we toss and turn and we talk and the league talks and the media talks and everything. And let's just keep it all in perspective. I won't go into the financial numbers when I played. The league just signed an 11-year, $76 billion TV contract.
Absolutely.
So we can say about this and that.
Absolutely.
And the NBA's building a league in Europe, and they have a league in Africa, and they're going to have expansion teams, and they're going to do this. I mean, the league is in an incredibly healthy perspective because of all the great players, all the hard workers, all the great commissioners, all the things that are going on. So these problems that we think are so big, yeah, they have to continually monitor everything, which they do. But the NBA is second to none in terms of what they've done for overall for the world in terms of the game of basketball. And it's only going to get better with the players and the money and the life-changing, family life-changing money these players are making. And God bless them. As long as they respect the game, play and improve their craft and do it with integrity and leave the game better off, when they leave, because everyone thinks their careers are this long. Careers go by quick. And, you know, then you have to do other things. And a lot of the players that are retiring that have been very successful are doing a lot of great things in their community and a lot of other things for people less fortunate. And that's what excites me about the NBA in general.
And the ratings are up 16%.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's nuts. It's not going anywhere. It gives us a chance to talk, but they're smart people running this thing, trust me.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Vinny, can't thank you enough for the time. How's your golf game right now, man? You scratch or you subpar? Where are we at?
It's definitely not as smooth as that jump shot you just showed on here.
There you go.
Smooth as that right there. Michael Adams from Boston, he said, "But just go. That was in. Look at the rotation. That's going in right there."
There you go.
I love it. I love it. Got the lines lined up.
You got the seams.
I wish my
You got the
golf swing
seams
was as
correct,
smooth
coach.
as that.
Yep.
That's $1 million gooseneck right there. I know that. That's $1 million gooseneck, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Vinny, thank you. We'll be in touch. I'd like to have you back on around the playoffs if that's okay.
Rick, with anything you want, bud. I appreciate the time, you guys. Great to talk to you. And Rick, you're my guy, so I just wish you guys are well.
Vinny, really
you very
appreciate
much.
it. God bless.
Thanks,
So much.
Coach.
Great to meet you.
Thank you.
Ooh, that was
Nice.
good. That was good. All right, Doc, Dwight,
Yo.
AM. Ding, ding. We have a heavyweight fight tonight at Madison Square Garden, baby. It is the Detroit Pistonians against the New York Knickerbockers. Doc's got gear on head to toe right now. He's got a rule that he can't wear.
I got the stripes.
Look at him.
looking dope.
That's
massive.
crazy.
He's ready to get in this game.
I got signed. I got signed a 10-day
Call him off the
contract.
bench.
But he says he can't go with the top and bottom when he goes to the game because for whatever reason. What
For the
is
house
that
only.
reason?
It's for unless you're on the team, you can't have the whole warm up on. You either got to just wear the hoodie with some cool shorts, or just the pants with a different hoodie or a different t-shirt. You
Nah,
can't
don't
the full-
wear the pants, cuz. Don't do that. Just wear the top.
Nah, I won't wear the
Don't
pants.
ever-
I
don't ever
know.
wear the
I know.
pants. Don't do that.
I know. Well, if I'm
where you
going
gonna put
to
your
the
wallet
gym,
if you
that's
did?
different. You said what?
I said, where are you going to put your wallet even if you did? Tops where it's
Oh, it has pockets.
Yeah.
I got pockets.
Oh, it does.
I got pockets.
So Doc's gonna have fun at the game. We're gonna have fun watching it on TV. I love the Garden, man.
It's
All right,
awesome.
so
Yeah, I agree.
So, Doc, you go first here, and then AM's going to go second. Dwight's going to go third, and I'll go last. All right. Will Detroit blow out New York again? Go.
No, the answer is no. So first off, let's just put this whole 69-point differential in perspective. The first game, yes, they came in, they smacked us in the face. It was horrible. Like, you already had Carlton Towns, I think he had like 6 points. OG had like 5 points, right? The second game, there was no Josh Hart. And to Stephen A's, I agree with what he was saying. Like, just because we lose one player doesn't mean that we totally collapse, right? There was no Josh Hart in that game. But the next game that we got smacked, the second game we got smacked, there was no OG Anunoby and there was no Karl Anthony Towns. Now, I expect from that some people would step up, but they came out swinging, and sometimes when you lose a game too quickly, it's kind of hard to recover. So I think that's what happened there. Now, some people are watching the game like, hey, there's no Isaiah Stewart, there's no Jalen Duren, so does this game count? This game absolutely counts. This is like, if the Knicks win, people are going to say, yeah, they didn't have this person, that person. But one thing we can't do is we can't lose on our home floor with our 2 new dogs, with their shiny collars. We can't lose tonight. That can't happen. So, with Sohan there and just coming off an all-star break, they don't have their bigs. But I would say for Knicks fans, we can't sleep because those bench players are gonna bring it. And Jenkins. And then you have your boy too, Paul Reed. Paul Reed is not a punk, and he plays with a great motor. And I think is there another guy named Saucer on their team, or Sasser? What's his name?
Yeah,
and
from
Mark-
Tennessee.
Yeah, Marcus Sasser, I like him, but JB Bickerstaff does not.
Yeah.
JB
I
never
know,
plays
but well, he might play now, is what I'm saying. So, like, just got to look out for guys like that. But they already had problems scoring the ball. But the problem with the good thing about them is that they also defend the ball. I think they're second in the league in defense. So that will make it harder for us to score. But I feel ultimately the Knicks can't lose this game. They have to win this game. But in the 7-game series, I had the Knicks winning, and I don't think it's going to be as hard as people think. I also think the strength of their schedule was very mid to begin the year, and I also feel like they have proven that they're a good team, but they've also have some bad losses on their record as well. So there's some there's some teams that they actually folded to. Yes, they have, Dwight. They're there. They're there. So that's all I have to say. The Knicks got this. I ain't worried about it.
How many points y'all win by tonight?
I give us, I would say 12.
Very interesting. Dwight has a myriad of problems with what you just said about your beloved New York Knicks. He's shaking his head. He can't wait to get on in here. All right, let's go.
No. You had me third. Let AM go.
Okay. I just see you reacting and stuff. AM Pfeffer, will Detroit blow out New York again?
Rick, who came up with this question? Was this you? Was this Dwight? Was this the two of you?
No.
This is how you guys had to posit this conversation. Will the Pistons blow out the Knicks again?
It's 69 points in 2 games, brother.
It's like you're taking my pen here and just jamming it right under Doc and me.
Hey, Doc.
Rick.
We got weather annihilated again, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was that just me, or was that the whole thing kind of?
It was everybody. It was everybody.
Okay.
It was everybody.
Okay.
One.
So as I was getting back in, I kind of lost track here. Did AM have more to say? He didn't finish his.
Yeah, he was mid-sentence.
AM's back. Guys, let me just say this. The heat coming off MSG tonight, I could feel it over 3,000 miles away. Four favorites. Man? Knicks, you ready for this? Knicks by 9. Mark it. I'm taking the points. We got this.
Okay.
Dwight? Okay. Okay, hold on.
Conspire away.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. First of all, I will say this. I don't think the Pistons blow out the Knicks tonight. But if the Pistons do blow out the Knicks tonight, there's major concern in New York City because you don't have Jalen Duren. You don't have Isaiah Stewart. Now, the strength of the Pistons is that they have a very deep roster. So tonight's game will be competitive. But I fully expect the Knicks to win tonight's game simply based on pride. And they're hearing all the talk from all the pundits, specifically Stephen A. Smith, who's basically said if y'all lose tonight, y'all shouldn't, be considered championship contenders. But again, to me, I understand that regular season games are very important, especially for passionate fans like my cousin Phil McDonald here. However, tonight's game, win or lose for either team, won't matter in a couple of months. Do you think, let's just fast forward to the Eastern Conference Finals, and let's assume the Knicks and the Pistons play each other for the Eastern Conference Finals championship. Do you think we're going to remember or care about what happened on February 19th, 2026? None of us going to care.
It won't matter. We'll care, but we won't matter. It won't matter because you have time to game plan, and the matchups are going to be the matchups. So it's going to be a whole.
Yeah, but Dwight, you're just talking about Detroit, New York here. I mean, what's the separation between Boston, the Knicks, Cleveland, and Toronto right now? It's a lousy 3.5 games.
But
3 in the loss column. It matters.
Okay, but we also have to acknowledge this as well. Do you guys know who the best team in the NBA percentage-wise is right now? The best team in the NBA.
What do you mean by
Say it.
percentage-wise? What do you mean? Offensively,
Meaning who
defensively,
has a
No,
winning percentage
no,
of 755 is really what he's
By
saying. Who has
record.
a 755s? It's actually the Thunder because they have 756, but the Detroit Pistons are 755 in their percentage. That's really what you're talking about.
So we need to acknowledge how great the Pistons are and stop trying to force feed this New York Knicks narrative that they're supposed to win. We got to give the Pistons their propers here. And the Pistons may not, see, and I want to acknowledge Correa because I had the same thought when Rick shifted to this topic. Y'all didn't recognize the smile on my cousin's face when you mentioned the Knicks. His whole demeanor changed. The whole thing changed.
Because I'm going to the game.
And
I'm going to the game. Come on, man.
So when I saw Correa's comment, I said, I can't wait to double down on her comment because that's how I felt. And the thing is, as soon as I say anything negative about the Knicks, who interrupts? My cousin Phil.
Well, I gotta interrupt because we'll be here 2 more hours. We're already over time. So
okay.
So first off, the Cavaliers, when they had the best record, like all this respect you have for the best record, were you like the Cavaliers are gonna win it all because they had the best record? When the Oklahoma City Thunder had the best record before they won the year before when they got beat by Dallas to go to the finals, where you know it's a new team. So there's even a stat out there that shows that a team as bad as the Detroit Pistons were, that had some of the same players, I know some of them are younger and they grew up, that team to then now go straight to the finals. The only team to ever do that was the Orlando Magic with Shaq and Penny. So it's very unlikely that a team that's never won a playoff series before, and it's also stunk with like the worst record in the league, to then automatically go to the number one, win a playoff series, and then go to the finals. So it's actually going against them. And honestly speaking, they lost last year to pretty much the same teams. And truth be told, they had a better team last year. Truth be told,
I'm not sure. Now, what you
did.
said
Tim Hardaway Jr., Beasley, those are dogs that started.
What you're saying, who cares about dogs? The team is better this year.
I'm just saying they had a better team. They had a better team last year.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
They had a better record this year, but they had a better team last year. They had Schroeder. They had Beasley. They had what's the other guy's name?
Now, Phil. It's better right now. The team is better this year. Yeah, okay. We're gonna find out. And the thing is, no matter how much you talk about the Knicks haven't accomplished anything with this group either. So
they got the cup. They won the whole cup.
Fair enough.
Kai, Jason, get me back on camera for a second. Get me back. I'm gonna pretend that this banana is a bucket of popcorn. Keep going, guys. Go on.
And they also beat Wemby. They beat Wemby all fired up, just like he got beat All-Star Weekend.
Hey,
they're not scared of that. They're not scared of anybody.
All the fans out there, this is what fandom is all about. If you want to trigger my cousin, talk about
it's not triggering. It's just saying that it's basketball. You will lose games. You will get blown out.
The Pistons are a better team this year than they were last. The proof is in the pudding. That's what it is.
They are.
The Pistons actually want to play the Knicks. As a matter of fact, they have payback on their mind. Whenever they play the Knicks, they see
Hold on. Dwight, you're a referee. I need another referee in here. Cam, do the Pistons want to play the Knicks?
Yeah, I think they do. I think
100%.
All right.
Yeah, I think the Pistons feel like we match up well with them, and I think Detroit's ready for all the smoke. Yeah. I think Doc made the most excellent point of this whole conversation. To go from ass rotten to good, lose a playoff series, and then go all the way and win the finals, it doesn't happen that way. Like that, I see Detroit making a run. I do, at least second round. I'm going to be pissed if we don't get a Knicks Detroit series at some point. But yeah, I think Detroit's like, bring it on. I think they're like Boston, bring it on. They're like Cleveland and whoever else, bring it on. Yeah, I like the fabric of this Detroit team. They got a bunch of badasses, man. They are not afraid.
The Knicks aren't afraid either, though. And I'll say this: like
Agreed.
in a regular season, you will lose games, you will get blown out. That will happen. But the Knicks aren't ducking any smoke. Yes, they're a tough team, and I wish that was the actual Christmas Day game. I know that the Detroit Knicks series is a great series for the NBA, but the Knicks aren't scared of them. They know what they can do against them. And truth be told, that Detroit has a problem scoring. They're not a high scoring team. Their offense has challenges, and I don't see them being fixed in a 7-game series. It's only going to get worse. They're going to be exposed. Just know that.
You know what, cousin? It sounds like you're trying to convince yourself more than you have.
I'm not.
Contextual.
I'm not. I'm trying to convince the other Knicks fans. Like
Phil,
Steven A. getting scared.
Okay, so give us a reason to why the Knicks aren't scared of the Pistons.
Because we beat them last year. And we weren't scared then.
See, that's not a reason.
And they had a better team.
That is not a reason.
They had a better team last year.
It is.
And you know what? People, the
That's a reason.
the
Why
first
is
thing
that not
people
a
are going to
reason?
say this year, yeah, why is that a reason? That was a 7-game series. You got your ass handed to you. Your best defender could not stop Jalen Brunson. With everybody saying, F you, Jalen. He doesn't care. We had the better star. When it goes head to head, we have the better star. We have the best clutch player.
No.
We have a better
Cunningham's
offense.
a better player than Brunson.
We have a better offense. We have a better.
Wrong.
The Knicks don't have a better offense. The stats say it.
No.
The Knicks have a better offense.
Cade Cunningham is better than James
Cade is not the system like James Harden. He's not the
Cade-
System like James Harden. He's not the system.
Cade Cunningham is better than Jalen Brunson. Don't say that.
He's not the system.
Cade Cunningham.
The Knicks
is
system
better
is the
than Jalen
second
Brunson.
or third best offense in the league.
Cade
The
Cunningham.
Knicks have the second or
is
third best
better
offense in the league.
than
Am I right?
Jalen
Guys,
Am I right?
here's the question. Here's the question. Can Mike Brown do what Steve Kerr did, right? When he stepped in for Mark Jackson, and now Mike Brown stepped in for Thibodeau, right? Both very good teams on the cusp, but weren't getting it done. This is why the moves were made. Did the Knicks make the right move? Is Mike Brown going to prove his mettle and bring them to the promised land? That's what the Knicks have going for them more than the Detroit Pistons have going for them, going from, as Rick said, ass rotten, because it often doesn't happen and come to this leap. But Mike Brown's got to prove his mettle. He really does. This is going to come down to we're debating players. You guys are debating the players, and it's fun, and it's all of that. But this is going to come down to the coaching through 16 games when the playoffs start.
No, it comes down to the players too. Carlton Towns has to show up, and Cade has to be as great as you guys think he is when it comes down to it in the playoffs, and not be, as Rick would say, a part-time killer. I don't even see Cade as a killer. He's a really good player, and he's a generational talent, but he needs more. His offense is not. They're ranked 12th in the NBA, so they've been doing this off of their defense. And
all right, let's let Rick. Rick's going to weigh in on this. Rick, we haven't heard from Rick on this yet. We haven't heard his thinking tonight.
Well, hold up. We're not slackers in terms of our defense. Okay, so and then with our offense, truth be told, we are second and third in the NBA. Acknowledge that. We score very high. When you look at the box scores, we score high up there. So unless they stop, it's not going to stop us in the 7-game
But
series.
you've lost by a combined 69 points to them.
Okay, recognize who was missing that second game. No OG Anunoby, no Karl-Anthony Towns. Acknowledge that, because tonight you're going to be like, when we beat y'all, you're automatically be like, oh, there's no Jalen Duren, there's no Isaiah Stewart. There's no OG Anunoby. That's 20 plus. That's 20 plus points right there with OG. And there's without Karl Towns, that's also another 20 points. So I wouldn't even count the second game. Only count the first game. That's it.
All I know is somebody please check on. Listen, again, I don't care who wins tonight, but somebody please check on my cousin. If the Pistons win tonight, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Doesn't matter, man. I'm still not pressed. If they lose tonight, I'm still not pressed. The reason why is because I know in the 7-game series, in the 7-game series, they will not beat us. It's not happening. And that will only be fuel for us to build off of for the rest of the season. Win or lose.
If you can give me some context, I'll listen.
I already said the second, third best offense in the NBA, and Detroit struggles scoring the ball. Plain and simple.
Okay. We'll see.
Woo! We love a cousin on cousin grudge match, and that's what that was right there. Is this game spicy enough for all y'all out there? This is like the spiciest game of the year for us right here. So, no, Detroit is not going to blow out New York again. Do you guys remember when San Antonio spanked, when OKC spanked San Antonio after losing the first 3 games to them, right? You could tell very early in that game that OKC was like, not tonight. Okay. We got to get back at these guys. And so many ball players and coaches that I've talked to over the years have said the regular season means nothing, right? Like, I'm just picking teams. Like, Portland will have beaten Sacramento 4-0 in the regular season, right? And then they get to the playoffs, and then Sacramento beats Portland 4-1, right? It happens all the time. You know, I'm a stat guy and an analyst and stuff. So, you know, I used to use that as like ammunition and like talking points, and it was poo-pooed every single time by ball players and coaches, every single time without exception. So the whole league is like the regular season doesn't damn matter. All right. But where I disagree with that is because Portland and Sally, whatever, but when you're talking about 2 primetime contenders, and if Detroit just waxes New York 4-0, point differential of a plus, 93 or something like that, mentally that has to get into New York's head a little bit. And I think if San Antonio would have beaten OKC again and it's 4-0, that would be a huge psychological advantage for the Spurs. Ball players and coaches don't want to hear all that, but I think that particular point right there is just human nature. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I look at it. So I mentioned OKC's win over San Antonio. That's what happens tonight at the Garden. Okay. I'm not in New York, Doc is. I would imagine the streets are buzzing right now. We got to beat them. We can't go out like suckers tonight. Forget about that. All that New York talk. You know what I mean? Like, they are woofing in Manhattan right now about this game. I live there. I already know this to be true. And so look, the players, everybody knows that they're going to feel it in the arena. The place is going to be lit. And I believe the Knicks are going to play with the appropriate urgency tonight. Now, you do have the man games that are going to be missed by Detroit, which are huge. But this is going to be a payback game for the New York Knicks. For me, it's a must win. They would never call it that, but I think it is. You can't let the biggest threat in your conference crush you by 69 points in 2 games and then let it happen again. Okay. Some are saying, I think I saw Stephen A say, I just don't want my Knicks to get blown out again. Stephen A, I'm a fan. You're my guy, but come on, dude. You got to raise your standards a little bit. I don't just want to get blown out. Dude, there's no moral victories. Like, if Detroit wins this game by 1 point, to me, that's a savage buzzkill for the New York Knicks. Maybe their fan base more than the team, but you get the point. To AM's point, the Knicks are 3rd in the East, half game behind Boston, 1 game up on Cleveland, 3 games ahead of the Raptors. Okay? New York does not want to fall to 5. Where you lose home court advantage in the first round. They would love to get to 2. But all of these games are critically important for every team that I mentioned except Detroit, because they basically have already won the East. But for the Knicks, it's serious now. It's post-All-Star. No more messing around, Cat, right? With all his foul trouble and disappearing acts. I want to see Cat flex. No Duran tonight, bro. You got to hit him with a 20-10 at least. Lock in. And the game's at the Garden, and I got Knicks by 10. So Doc, did you say 9 or 12? Because I know AM
12.
said 9. I can't.
AM said 9. I said 12.
And I got 10. So we are 9, 10, and 12. We see a relatively comfortable Knicks victory tonight. I do think it's going to be a good game, but I think the Knicks win, as I said, by double digits. Dwight, give me your final score, and then we'll get into our roundtable rant here. Do you have Detroit winning this game, or do you? I think you said you have New York winning this game. What does New York win by tonight?
Care.
No, I have the Knicks winning. I have the Knicks winning by 6. I think the Pistons, their depth will keep this game close. I think their competitive spirit will keep the game close. I am sure JB Bickerstaff will implore his players to be physical with the Knicks, to bring the wood, if you will, because that tends to push them back a bit. I want the Knicks to me have to match the physicality, if not be more physical than Detroit, in order for them to be competitive, not only in tonight's game, but for the in a playoff series if they do face each other. So because of the depth, I think that the Pistons will keep it under double digits. Knicks will win tonight by 6.
All right, fellas, let's get into the rant. And I want to talk about the WNBA for a minute. You guys, the WNBA is about to die.
Huh.
The WNBA is about to die. How can this league continue? You have Unrivaled, you have all these other money-making opportunities for these great athletes and ladies and human beings. There was a report from FOS. I saw this on Legion Hoops. Report. WNBA players are asking for an average of 27.5% of league revenue and team-provided housing for all players in recent CBA discussions. 27.5%. I believe it's a 51-49 split between the owners and players in the NBA, okay? So it's a collab. It's a partnership. And for every big decision a team makes, what do? They loop in Steph, they loop in Durant, all that kind of, it's a collab, it's a partnership. And the WNBA's response to that, guys, and I quote, unrealistic and would cause hundreds of millions of dollars of losses for our teams. Did you guys see Natasha Cloud? And it was like a 6-minute soliloquy on the negotiations and what's going wrong. And did you guys see that?
I've seen others. I've seen other soliloquies. I've seen others.
I'm speechless right now. I'm absolutely speechless that in 2026, with all the purportedly bright minds that we have running basketball, that we're here right now. And I include Adam Silver in this, guys. Adam Silver is on record talking about the WNBA, CBA negotiations, which he is heavily involved in. He is heavily involved in it because Adam Silver is a tremendous deal maker. He's an elite deal maker. Kathy Engelbert is incompetent and greedy and doesn't know what the hell she's doing. The apex of your sport, the WNBA 2 years ago was not mainstream. It was still underground, kind of niche-y, all that kind of stuff. It's mainstream now, guys. They have games on ABC, not ESPN2, not the Ocho. ABC, okay? And here we are. They cannot cave, and they will not cave. Natasha Cloud said that. She said, we are not agreeing to this. And she's a very vocal. I love Natasha Cloud. A dog. And I want to see the Liberty. I want to see the Lynx. I want to see the Fever. I want to see what the Mercury can do this year, right? And I don't think we're going to see any of it, guys. And look, I like Unrivaled for the ladies, right? It's another opportunity to make money and all that kind of stuff. But it's Unrivaled. It's not the WNBA. The stats aren't going on basketballreference.com. Feels like an exhibition. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to pour water on it. I'm just saying it can't be about that. It's got to be about the league, right? Think about if the NBA was screwing this up so badly and all the NBA players had to go create like an exhibition league to go play in. No gold ball, right? It's not the NBA MVP. It's only half of the league went into this league, and so it's the half NBA. You guys get my point here? It's like, I love that they have other opportunities to make money. But, guys, the NBA, the WNBA is about to die. And I'm beside myself. It's such egregious malpractice, I can't even understand. The ladies want 27.5%. They're not asking for half. They're asking for basically half of half. And the league keeps pushing back. It's going to cost us millions of dollars and millions of dollars and millions of dollars. Kathy Engelbert, you are the worst commissioner in the history of sports. Okay. I hope Adam makes a decision to get you out of there and get somebody who knows what they're doing in there, because you are killing the WNBA right now. That's all I got. Dr. X, it's yours.
Well, my rant is about college basketball. I think they have put a great product on the floor this year, and there's a lot of hype around this draft class, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing with the entitlement and how people are, what happened with, let me cut to the chase, what Darren Peterson did and has done all season with just, milking this cramping issue has been a little discouraging. And I'm not sure what that says going forward for teams in general. And how, the way Bill Self and the Kansas team responds to this is really going to reflect a lot coming in about what NIL does for players, because people are going to be like, well, Darren Peterson did it. So why can't we, and I think he has to be careful who he surrounds himself with, who he's getting advice from. His stock is going to eventually drop, and hopefully he doesn't get a real injury, in his career, because we know the type of player he will be, and teams are probably going to shy away from him. And I hope it doesn't like follow him, or there's going to be like this thing, because he seems like a nice kid, but he seems pretty strong-willed and just not playing. And if you're a real hooper and you love the game and you love basketball, you have a chance to have a career night. I mean, the only thing I would say is I wonder what he would do if the game was in the balances. If they were down by like 5 or 10 and he had 20 points. I want to see what would have happened then. Would he have said that he can't go? Because in his defense, it was, they were up by like almost 20, they won by 20. So it didn't really matter that he played or not. So in that case, he was being, self-sacrificing and giving his teammates an opportunity to get their stats up, because he already showed what he can do in 20 minutes, right? But I just don't like how he pulled himself out of the game. You just don't do that. And hopefully it's really not a real injury, and hopefully they get by this.
Bill Self called it concerning, and it doesn't sound, I read the article about it, Doc, on ESPN.com. It does not sound like Bill Self and Darren Peterson are on the same page. Are you getting those vibrations as well?
Yeah, and that's what's discouraging too, because for a coach to say that on national on the national stage, that pretty much says that you've had it up to here and you don't really care
exactly
at this point. And you might even be at the point of saying, hey, why don't you just not play at this point? Because honestly speaking, if you're scared of getting hurt, fine, just wait till the draft. I get it. But this back and forth, and everybody setting their DVRs, or setting their alarms to make sure they watch the game, and then he just checks himself out. He did that against AJ DeBanson, which is also a big buzzkill. It was like we just noticed he was on the sideline, just for no reason. And so hopefully with this, I don't like how it's playing out for Bill Self. I don't want him to be looked at as the enemy. I don't even like how it looks against Darren Peterson. I don't want him to be the bad guy either. His career hasn't even started yet, and it looks like it's getting tagged with all these negative thoughts and what people say about him. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they can clean it up. And NIL is not necessarily the best thing, but I'm happy for the players. But they got to have some more guidelines in there to prevent this type of activity.
The best point you made among many, Doc. Bill Self is over it. That was the vibe. He's over it. Totally fed up with this, guys. And Dwight, you know this very, very well. In the draft process, regardless of sport, they're vetting reasons not to draft you more than they're vetting reasons to draft you. Darren Peterson is giving teams around the NBA reasons not to draft him. Will it cause his stock to plummet? No. But he may fall to 3 or 4, right? And a lot of people still think he's the one. I've been on AJ Dybant's, I don't know, for at least a couple of months now. I'm taking the size. I'm taking the wing. That's the NBA today over like a 6'3", 6'4", maybe 6'2". I don't know. I haven't stood next to him. Shooting guard, right? And I'm not saying this kid's not talented. He's very, very, very talented. I also wonder, are you in good enough shape? Did you work hard enough on your body? Are you working hard enough on your body? Because you're going to get to the NBA next year, and that's a meat grinder, bro. You think the Big 12 is tough? Come on, man. That ain't the NBA. All right, AM Pfeffer, you are next, and then Dwight Walton, you will wrap us up and take us home. AM, what's your rant?
Hey, guys, I just want to say to Rick and to Doc, I loved both of your rants. They touched a nerve on both of them and hit home, so I appreciate them. I'm going to go in a little bit of different direction today. You know, sometimes I like to bring a little positivity, and I'm going to do that here. I don't really have a rant other than, for anybody listening, maybe they agree, maybe they don't, but this, to me, is like my favorite time of the year. Literally, it's like the first game right after the NBA All-Star game, because so much happens between now, kind of like the mid to tail end of February as we head into mid-June toward the NBA Finals. But it's like not just the NBA. I am so excited that pitchers and catchers are reporting very shortly. I am so excited that the NFL free agency season starts in about 3 weeks, which is actually absolutely one of my favorite times of the season, sometimes even more than the season and Super Bowl for the NFL. I even get a little into the NHL as we head towards playoff time, but it's like spring is in the air. We're not that far away. You can almost taste it, but it's like now and to mid-June, it's like it's just nonstop, right? I mean, the Masters are in there somewhere in April, obviously, and it's like it's just awesome. I don't know what it is, but like we get to this point, the year is in full. You know, we're like 6 weeks into the year, and I just feel it. Like everything about sports is like right now. And the Knicks play the Pistons tonight at the Garden, and you know where I'll be. Well, we know where Doc will be. I'll be on my couch watching with my kids, but I'm watching.
AM, you mentioned pitchers and catchers reporting. I have a big decision to make. I think I need a year off from fantasy baseball. I think I need a year off.
All right.
And I may never go back. And I say that because, like, fantasy hoops, I mean, I invented it. It's in my blood. I'll play it until God comes to get me. Fantasy football, kind of the same thing, right? Like, those are lifestyle joints. But it's summertime. I feel like maybe taking a break. I got a decision to make here. I've got four. I'm in 4 dynasty leagues. Last year I was in 10 leagues. And like, I just kind of lost interest a little bit, if that makes sense. Had a lot going on, and it just became kind of a burden. I mean, it's 10 leagues. It's a lot of maintenance, especially for fantasy baseball. The year before I played in 10 leagues, I won 5 championships. Last year I played in 10 leagues. I won no championships. And you know what? The back of my baseball card isn't looking as good as it was after I won 5 out of 10. I go 0 out of 10. I may preserve my stats here a little bit, but I know you're riveted with the ultimate decision I make, and I will let you know. Dwight Walton, end the show, my friend.
Well, my rant was going to be on Darren Peterson as well, so I'll just sum up or add to what my cousin said. I don't think this will be a trend because Darren Peterson knows how good he is. It would take somebody as good as Darren Peterson for them to employ the same strategy that he and his camp are doing right now. I think it would take an extraordinary circumstance for this to be repeated. And I'm not defending what Darren Peterson is doing. We've seen football players do this by not playing in various bowl games to preserve themselves, to make sure they're healthy as they approach the draft. I know football is a completely different sport. It's a gladiator sport. Your career can end on the first play from scrimmage on either side of the football. So I get that. But what is concerning about what Darren Peterson is doing is that you heard Coach Self in his post-game presser give his concerns as to what's happening. And as we've said, they're not on the same page. And how could Darren Peterson go into go into his locker room right now, look his teammates in the face and say, you know what, I am all in. I want to bring the University of Kansas a national championship. That's why I'm here. Yes, I also have other goals as well because I'm the projected number 1 pick in the draft. But what he is saying is that is more important than winning a national championship for my school. I get it. There's the business side of sports. I understand it. He knows he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He has basically teased us into believing he's the number 1 pick in the draft. Again, I would choose AJ DeBansa. That's just my preference. But it's pretty clear that in the minimal amount of time that Peterson has played this season, he has shown he's a prolific scorer. He's extremely efficient. He gets it done on the defensive end as well. He has the metrics. He's 6'5", 6'6", can do everything. Score from distance, the mid-range, at the rim, and he could defend at an elite level as well. So, again, I understand that there are a unique set of circumstances from what we're seeing with the NBA and their tanking, because this summer's draft is an extremely special draft, and as to why teams are doing what they're doing right now. All I'm saying is I don't think this Darren Peterson case will be a trend. He's doing it because he knows his stance. He knows there's enough tape on him to ensure that he'll be the number 1 pick in the draft. We just don't like what's happening. But again, you have to be as good as Darren Peterson if you want to accomplish the same goals going forward. So I'm hopeful, again, and like I said, I don't think this will be a trend going forward.
Dr. X, AM Pfeffer, Adam Smirnoff, Adam Deitch, Nick Nation. Good luck tonight. This has been a fine show. Huge thanks. And Doc, have fun at the game, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, have fun, you guys. Big thanks to Vinnie Del Negro for joining the show. Big thanks to Law Murray for joining the show. And big thanks to all of you, beautiful people, for watching us here on Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Sports Network. We will be back on Monday, smooth, right? At 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Pacific, with the next edition of Beyond the Surface. We'll see you then, everybody. Peace.